eliminated. If the Patriots lose, New England will be eliminated. The Jets will win the division. Cincinnati and Kansas City will be the wild cards, and the Jets will have a week to regroup. And the key principals who hold the future of so many in their hands are two of the NFL's new breed of quarterbacks. The Patriots, Tony Eason, is having another superb season. He's big, strong, has the athletic ability to buy extra time and scramble, and has a mental toughness all top quarterbacks must have. His counterpart tonight on the Dolphins is Dan Marino, maybe the best in the game, maybe the best of all time. The years to come will determine that. In 4 years, Marino has turned the NFL passing record book into his own personal biography. When he's off, he's good. When he's on, he's awesome. And tonight, from the Orange Bowl in Miami, Dan Marino and the Dolphins of the New England Patriots' final obstacle to the playoffs and an AFC Eastern Division championship. Down and 10. Grogan looks one way, rolls the other, has Hannah in front of him. Hannah with a good block. Look at Grogan. Touchdown. All the way. What a football player that young man is. Second down, a long two, the ball at the 45-yard line of Denver. Grogan through the air. He wants 6. This is Morgan. We have it. Touchdown, brilliantly thrown, and the great speed of Morgan. Now that's why Grogan's become a quarterback, Don. That's touch.
On third down and 2, Woody Bennett goes in motion, and they give it to Hampton. Big hole out in front. And nobody's going to catch him. Touchdown on the ground.
All right. Live from the Orange Bowl in Miami, Florida, tonight, the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. And this ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Pontiac, America's road car company. Pontiac, we build excitement. By Miller, genuine draft, cold filtered for real draft smoothness. It's beer at its best. By Black & Decker, ideas at work. And by the U.S. Army, a place to be all you can be. Hello again, everyone. For Al Michaels, this is Frank Gifford from the Orange Bowl in Miami, Florida, and a little bit of history in the making here tonight. This will be the final game the Dolphins will play in this historic old edifice, and we are looking forward to an exciting one. I think it's only fitting and proper that maybe more is on the line tonight than any other game in which we have covered, and we have been bringing you games here for 17 years on Monday Night Football, occasionally Thursday, occasionally Friday, and occasionally Sunday. But tonight for the Miami Dolphins, well, they're out of the playoffs, but they would love to take New England out of the picture also. New England has been struggling while the Dolphins have been hot. They are 4, 5, 6 of their last 8, and meanwhile the New England Patriots have dropped their last 2. But everything is on the line for these Patriots tonight. They know about sudden death. They knew about it a year ago. As a wild card, they went to the Super Bowl where it was sudden death, 46-10 at the hands of the Bears. But they go against the Dolphins tonight, and they know to stay alive, they have to win. Al, much pressure for a lot of young football players out there for the New England Patriots. A lot of pressure on Tony Eason, their quarterback.
It's been a remarkable season, Frank, all things considered, for the Patriots, who ended last year under a drug cloud after getting routed in the Super Bowl. But during the course of this year, they won 7 consecutive games. However, they have not played particularly well the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, they were routed by Cincinnati, and then last week, they were defeated by San Francisco. So they come in having lost twice to a couple of playoff teams, or a couple of potential playoff teams anyway, Cincinnati hopeful of getting in. And they come in with a defense that has been very suspect, and with no running game, and a team that has been able to withstand a lot of injuries through the course of the year. And all things considered, Raymond Berry has done a remarkable job, but it will all be for naught if they do not win tonight, because there's no wild card possibility for New England. It is simply a division championship or nothing. And obviously, the Cincinnati Bengals looking on with a little bit more than casual interest tonight. And in fact, New England must feel as if they're playing Miami and Cincinnati. Miami to receive with Craig Ellis and Mike Kozlowski back. And Tony Franklin, who's had a great year. He was named the AFC's place kicker for the Pro Bowl in Honolulu in February, to put it in the air as we get started in Miami. The kick taken at the 7-yard line by Craig Ellis past the 20. And Ellis comes out to the 28-yard line. And Dan Marino to lead the Dolphins now. Marino coming off a week in which he threw 5 touchdown passes at Anaheim, the 5th coming in overtime to beat the Rams. And Lorenzo Hampton, who's been really coming on in the second half of the season in particular. Bennett does the blocking. Duper having another great year. Clayton and Hardy, the other receivers. And the guys up front, led by Foster and Stevenson, who will both be going to the Pro Bowl. 1st and 10, Miami from the 28-yard line. Hampton is slotted to the left with Bennett, the running back, and Marino goes right to work through the air, completes the pass out at the 37-yard line, and Bruce Hardy takes it to the 39 and a first down. 3-man front for the Patriots with Brent Williams, Toby Williams, and Garen Barris. And then the linebackers, Andre Tippett had been hurt. He's back. Blackman, the other outside backer. Rembert doing a good job this season. Gibson is starting at one corner with Claiborne, James, and Marion. And Ronnie Lepet is hurt. Cracked ribs, not in there tonight. So they go with Gibson. The Dolphins, tough through the years, and particularly tough on Monday night here in the Orange Bowl. 18-3. 1st and 10. Dolphins at their own 39-yard line. Hampton dives to the 46. A pickup of 7. It'll be 2nd and 3.
And if the Dolphins can establish any kind of running game, they are going to be even more difficult than they are with just Marino throwing the ball. And they started to run the ball a few weeks ago against the Jets when we were down here. But the problem for the New England Patriots, what do you do? The Rams tried to pressure them last week. They lost and they got away from their zone defense. They started blitzing. They covered man for man. Marino read it, picked it up every time. 5 touchdown passes. Do you cover or do you blitz?
On 2nd and 3, they run with Hampton over the left side. Hampton loses the football at the 50-yard line. And as they unpile, it is still Miami's football. And a first down as well.
Almost fitting, and then Miami leads the league in the fewest turnovers allowed this season. Also, once again, they're back on top in fewest penalties. They play a very clean game.
With the fumble, that was a live football. He had picked up enough for the first, but with the fumble, it comes back to the 48-yard line, so they are shy of the first down by 1. 3rd down and 1, Miami from their own 48-yard line. Marino physically lining up Johnson on the left side and sending Hardy in motion. And on 3rd and 1, they give it to Hampton, and Hampton fights his way for the first down after he was initially stopped. Fred Marion comes up to make the stop, and the Cincinnati Bengals, that is a live shot. They are looking on in Covington, Kentucky, just across the Ohio River from downtown Cincinnati, and obviously delighted to this point that Miami has picked up a couple of first downs to begin the ball game.
Again, New England's problem. Do you try to pressure Marino? He reads it so well. Do you get yourself in man-to-man coverage? He reads that so quickly.
1st and 10 from the 50, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Lorenzo Hampton. Lawrence McGrew, the linebacker, was covering. 2nd and 10 from the 50.
And Marino knew he had the man there. He was there. He was open. Don Shula, now in his 26th year as a head coach, and once again has avoided another losing season. He's only had one during his career. That is one of the most remarkable statistics for this man over the years. Got off to a terrible start at the beginning of the season. 2 and 7, and then they went 6 of 8.
Extra receiver in Nat Moore. On 2nd and 10, Marino with great protection fires for a first down to Duper. And he's run down at the 30-yard line by Raymond Claiborne. Duper is the champ. A 3rd straight first down for Miami.
64th reception on the season. Great blocking by John Sandusky's crew. He's the line coach. They give Marino so much time, and Duper has got himself man for man on Claiborne, and quickly Marino picks it up. He's wide open. You have to lay off him. You can't play him tight. He's going to run by you if you do. And a first down, almost automatic if you don't put the pressure on Marino if you're in single coverage.
1st and 10 at the 30-yard line. Straight ahead, Hampton. Earlier this season, Miami had no running game. It was all passing, but Hampton has come on, and that started in the game against the Jets. And we saw that at the open of the show. That was one of the highlights. Hampton's run for a touchdown en route to a 45-3 thumping of New York.
Saw a little shoving in the infighting there. No love lost between these two teams. 34-7 romp by the Patriots earlier in the year. At the end of the game, the Patriots were trying to add more. Miami hasn't forgotten that. They haven't forgotten the 31-14 loss in the AFC Championship a year ago either.
2nd and 4. Jim Jensen is in the game, the versatile one, and he is split to the right, and that's he in motion, bottom of the screen, as Hampton takes the toss. Spinning, loses the football, and New England has recovered at the 25-yard line. Johnny Rembert comes up with the football. Andre Tippett was the man who jarred it loose.
Hampton trying to bring it back behind the block, turn right into Tippett. Let's watch again, and this is what the Dolphins don't do. The fewest turnovers in the league's into tonight. Good block out in front. Hampton spinning and twisting, and that's when you lose it. And there is Tippett. Maybe not the 100% Tippett he was before the arthroscopic surgery, middle of the season, but he still is a force out there.
1st and 10, New England now from the 25-yard line. And Craig James takes it for a gain of 6. Oddly, Hampton all season long had fumbled twice, and then he fumbles twice on that drive and loses one of them. Eason, his numbers, a big year for Tony. And with him, James, who's missed the last 2 games with a sore knee. Collins doesn't start tonight. They used Tutupu, the blocking back. Morgan's had a great year. And the guys up front with Holloway on the left side, Brock, the veteran at center. Fairchild is the man who's taking John Hanna's place after all those scintillating seasons for the Patriot Guard.
Ray Berry would like to run tonight against Miami. They're 27th in the league defensively, 27th against the rush. But New England has not been one of your powerhouse rushing teams.
Fake to James. Good protection. Eason then overthrows the intended receiver, Greg Beatty, the tight end. They've been going to Beatty a lot lately, and that time he was covered by another rookie, John Offerdahl, who'll be going to the Pro Bowl. For Miami up front, they have been very weak in terms of rushing the passer this season, the 3-4. Offerdahl is the inside backer. And then the defensive backfield with the rookie, Renee Thompson, and that is the way it's pronounced. Judson, the other corner, Blackwood and Brown are the safeties. 3rd and 4 from the 31-yard line. Shotgun. Low snap. Eason dodging, runs into his own man, sacked at the 16. It looks like a pinball machine back there.
David Fry coming on a blitz and almost free. Watch number 53. George Little moves to the outside, spins by him, does Fry. He'll get up and come back and get back into it. Missed by Soche, but it was effective, and Eason goes down at the 16-yard line.
And in the blizzard of confetti already, it's Rich Camarillo to kick. Camarillo went 5 seasons without having 1 block. He's had 3 blocked this year. Craig Ellis to receive back at his own 32. And a beauty, a long, long kick with the wind. Fumbled at the 20 by Ellis and picked up. And Ellis brings it back out to the 31. 64-yard kick by Camarillo.
He caught
an 11-yard run back.
Wild wind, and it took a ride. 64-yard boot by Camarillo. And he really caught one. The wind is blowing from the open end of the stadium. He got it up there. It was almost like it was picked up by a breeze and carried an extra 10, 20 yards.
And a marker down on the play. Jim Tunney is the referee. And we'll get the call from Tunney as he checks the spot.
Holding defense during the run back is 5 yards, first down.
Still not bad, all things considered. So it's a 64-yard kick, and now what amounts to a 16-yard run back. No score early in the first period.
It's Pontiac.
of one of the most dramatic games ever played. Super Bowl III, the New York Jets and the Baltimore Colts. And as he had predicted, Joe Namath led the Jets to an astonishing 16-7 upset win over the Colts, who in that year were coached by Don Shula.
John Offerdahl, the rookie from Western Michigan, a great when he's been this year, a starter in the Pro Bowl, hooked his thumb a while ago when he was covering Beatty, the tight end, came off the field and he was bleeding all over his jersey and on his pants, as you can see, but appears to be all right.
He missed only the third down play, and now he rests anyway as the Dolphins take over offensively, and Marino shoots one out to the right side to Hampton, who can't break a tackle. That's Roland James out of the University of Tennessee. It's been a steady and solid secondary for New England, with Claiborne and James and Marion playing every game last year and just about every one this year, and they've been working those three along with Ronnie Lepet. But again tonight, New England minus Lepet because of cracked ribs, and so Ernest Gibson takes his spot, and Rod McSwain becomes the nickelback.
And off last week in their game when they did not have a single sack, they are going to have a difficult time pressuring Marino.
Tony, Nathan is in the game on 2nd and 9, and that's Nathan with the football, and Nathan out past the 40 to the 42-yard line, where Andre Tippett, number 56, makes the stop.
So as you pointed out, they are not only weak in their coverage with the loss of Lepet, one of the better defensive backs, they have also had a difficult time getting to the quarterback. No sacks, as a matter of fact, in the last two games, and lost to San Francisco and Cincinnati. Their defense rated 15th overall, 24th against the rush, and that's why Miami thinks they can run tonight, 6th against the pass.
And Miami has allowed fewer sacks than any team in the league this season, so that does not augur well for New England in terms of putting pressure on Marino, who sends Nathan in motion. And on 3rd and 3, he shoots one out to Nathan. Nathan cannot pick up the first down as Fred Marion makes a first down saving tackle at the 45-yard line.
Be interesting now. You're out of the playoffs. Do you go for it on 4th down? Now out comes the punting team. Don Shula with the ball at his own 45-yard line. Not at this point in the game.
Reggie Roby. Roby's gross average, as you see, is 44.5. Ron Stark of Indianapolis finished at 45.2, and that's Irving Pryor back to receive. Roby's net average is the best in the league at 37.5. So one of the best kicking to one of the best punt returners.
And into a very tough wind.
A wind that aided a 64-yard Camarillo kick, but this time it goes the other way. And this one hangs up, and that wind makes a big, big difference. A short kick that bounces out of bounds at the 25-yard line. So that is a big factor as the wind blows in from the open end. Only a 30-yard punt for Roby. 6:42 to play first quarter. No score at the Orange Bowl in Miami. Al Michaels and Frank Gifford at the Orange Bowl, and for years we've seen games from this site, and you see that sign, the city of Miami welcomes you to the Orange Bowl. They still will, but only for college football and soccer and concerts, but not for the pros anymore. The Dolphins' final game in this venerable facility. No score with James on 1st and 10 from the 24, being run out of bounds out at the 26-yard line. Craig James, who played with Eric Dickerson at SMU and was so instrumental in helping New England get to the Super Bowl last year, but this year bothered with a knee injury, has not played in the last 2 weeks, and as you can see, a 2.7 average.
A lot of change in that offensive line, too. Steve Moore, the right tackle, is gone. Injury. John Handa had to retire. Holloway has been injured most of the season. Their running game has been non-existent.
2nd and 8 from the 26-yard line. Draw play to Tupu. Takes it out to the 30. And one reason that New England has to think about running more tonight, even though they've been unable to generate anything on the ground, is to just try to keep Marino off the field.
They're trying to do it, and I think that's why they had Tupu in there to begin with. They came into tonight averaging 2.9 per rushing attempt. Now, there are a lot of teams that do better than that with their short yardage offense. Nevertheless, Ray Berry told us this morning we want to try to balance our attack. Not much chance the way it's going.
3rd and 5 from the 30-yard line. And Eason throws to Beatty, and Beatty is run out of bounds out at the 36-yard line and a first down. Beatty, an 8th-round draft choice out of Stanford, and he has filled the bill at tight end. He's a good receiver. His blocking leaves something to be desired, but he has seen most of the action of late, with Greg Hawthorne also filling the spot.
Really done well the last 4 games. Had 34 receptions coming into tonight. He had 22 of them in the last 4 games and a couple of touchdowns. So they've been going to him. Of course, the big man, the game breaker, is still a 31-year-old Stanley Morgan. And they have not opted to go to him yet.
James, no gain. Just to put it in perspective, if you don't follow the numbers in football that closely, and we talk about the average yards per carry, James at 2.7, Collins at 2.6, Tupu at 2.3. The Patriots are averaging as a team 2.9 yards a carry. No team in the NFL has averaged under 3 in 20 years. The Steelers were the last to do it in 1966. That's how futile the running game has been. 2nd and 9 from the 37. And incomplete, intended for Collins. And they like to go to Collins through the air. He's caught 70 this year. He was covered by Offerdahl.
And covered very well by Offerdahl. A moment ago, you saw him covering Beatty. Now let's watch him, the rookie. And the rookie headed for a Pro Bowl starting role. He picks him up. He's reading Collins' eyes all the way. And Collins made a pretty good move. Offerdahl was there, forcing Eason to throw the absolutely perfect pass if he was going to complete it. And he didn't do it.
3rd and 9, 38-yard line, 5:15 to go first quarter. Cedric Jones is in the game as the extra receiver. And Eason throws to Collins at the 46-yard line, and Collins tries to crawl his way to a first down. And there's a flag down. There's a flag down back at the 26-yard line. Brian Sauché and Darrell Haley got into it.
And they got into it late, after the ball was blown dead. Jim Tunney telling us all about it, and we'll hear from him.
Emphatically.
70, defense. Added to the end of the run, first down.
That was Brian Sauché.
Haley, of course, the right tackle, blocking Sauché. They got into it late, after the completion, after Collins had literally crawled for the first down. Haley over on that right side, where he was a starter in '84. He missed most of last season. Let's watch him at the lower part of the screen, number 68. 70 is Sauché. Everything is fine here. And you can see a little bit of holding on the part of Haley. Sauché took umbrage for that and let him have it, and the penalty was tacked on.
From the 38, off the play fake, Eason throws, and Beatty makes the one-handed grab at the 32-yard line, covered by Bob Brudzinski, but not much Brudzinski could do on that play. Baumhauer, meanwhile, put the pressure on Eason. Nice catch.
Beautiful catch, and Eason had to ease himself out of the pocket, put it up high, and Beatty, who goes 6'5", was able to go up and one-hand it, tip it into the other hand, and gets the pickup. Beatty has really come on over the past few games and has turned in a superb tight end, and that should help Stanley Morgan, who's having a great year. You can no longer cover that tight end with a linebacker.
Pitch goes to James, who gets inside the 30, seeking the first down, is out of bounds, close to it at the 28-yard line.
James has had knee problems through much of the season, pointing out how much he thought he was short, and that's about what he was short. But to tell you how the running game has fallen off for New England, a year ago, James had over 1,200 yards rushing. He averaged 4.7. Into tonight, he's averaging 2.7 and under 400 yards rushing. Where did it go? We asked Ray Berry today. Well, we got us a long answer, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what he said either.
Something about taking the glint off the rifle barrel or something. He has some beautiful Southern homilies.
In any event, they've been able to at least put a lot of points on the board. In fact, going into this, the final weekend of the season, these two teams were first and second in scoring, and neither team was balanced. They're both passing teams. 3rd and inches. Hawthorne sets up on a wing to the left, and it's Tupu who runs into a wall. I don't know how many inches he needed, but he may have come up a little shy.
It did not look as though he got back to the line of scrimmage. And, of course, New England has the hottest field goal kicker in the business in Tony Franklin. And I'm quite sure they're going to be looking at a 4th down.
Tatupu, by the way, will be going to the Pro Bowl. You're allowed to name one special teams performer, and he's the guy from the AFC.
Interesting how they started him tonight in place of Collins. Figuring, I'm quite sure that Ray Berry wanted to balance out some kind of a game, try to get some kind of running, and figuring that he could provide a little more blocking than Collins for the running of Craig James.
That was exactly no gain, and Berry says go for it.
I like it. I do. I remember him in 1958, sudden death against the Giants. He was something. 12 receptions from Johnny Unitas in that game. I don't have to tell you he was on the losing end of it. But this is Ray Berry. He's got a hot field goal kicker. It would be about a 45-yard attempt for a field goal. He's got a 4th and about a foot. He thinks he can do it right here. He knows he's going to have to get a lot of points tonight, or figures he will.
Collins and Tatupu are the running backs. Tatupu again runs into a wall, but this time he appeared to pick up at least a couple of inches.
Surge should get it for him. I think the reasoning of Ray Berry is rather simple. He knows that Miami's going to put a lot of points on the board before the night is over. And he figures that why settle for 3? And it would have been a 45-yard effort. His hot field goal kicker, Tony Franklin, his best of the year is only 49. So the Hall of Famer says, let's go for it.
And it is a 1st down. And it's a 1st down without even bringing the sticks out. Tony looked over and said, that's enough.
Great respect for Ray Berry on the part of these New England Patriots. He's very strict, he's very stern, he's very honest and very straight with them. They like that.
1st and 10, 27-yard line, 4 minutes to go, 1st quarter, no score. James behind Tatupu. Picks up a couple, 1.5 yards. Mark Brown, the outside linebacker, playing despite a painful groin injury, makes the tackle. The Dolphins have improved somewhat on defense. You can only improve when you begin the season by giving up 50 points in your opener and then 51 in game 3. But they have looked, on balance, better defensively as the season has gone along.
And to say they had nowhere to go but up.
Yeah.
And they have.
2nd and 9. Eason for Beatty, who makes the catch at the 21-yard line. Larry Kolick covering on the play. And we talked about the fact they've been utilizing Beatty quite a bit recently. In the last 4 games, he had caught 22 passes, and he's already pulled in 3 tonight.
He's been a real factor. Like I say, if you try and cover him, and thus far, the Dolphins are doing it with a linebacker, primarily Alfred Dahl. You're going to have to eventually bring your strong safety back onto him if he keeps catching the football. He keeps advancing the ball downfield, and that means you're going to loosen up on Fryer and Morgan.
3rd and 5, New England at the Miami 22 in a scoreless 1st period. Collins in motion. Intended for Morgan,
yes.
And the catch is made for the touchdown. What a play! Judson had him covered perfectly, and Morgan, having a tremendous season, makes a big catch. 22 yards, touchdown New England. They lead 6-0.
And Judson had help on that. He was playing him up tight. They were doubling him, I believe. And it was Eason. He didn't fool around. He looked at him all the way. That brought Bud Brown over from the free safety, where he should have been, helping a little closer. There is the coverage. Just a beautiful reception by Morgan, who's having far and away the best season of his 10-year career. Great effort. And Eason had it absolutely timed out perfectly. That's a perfect timing pass. So, little strategy on the part of Ray Berry back at the 30, what was it, the 28-yard line to decide to go on 4th and about a foot. Pays off with 6 points rather than an attempted 3.
13-play drive, and that's what New England will need a lot of tonight. Long drives that obviously culminate in points on the scoreboard. Because long drives keep Marino off the field. 2:25 to go in the period, and Franklin to kick. And it's now 7-0. So New England is on the board, and again, The New England Patriots very much playing not only the Miami Dolphins tonight, but those Cincinnati Bengals with Boomer Esiason on the left and Chris Collinsworth on the right.
And Chris always did have great taste. Always good judgment. Nice little place
About
out
as
there.
bad as it gets, Al.
Oh, Beethoven here.
Stanley Morgan with that great catch. Morgan also caught a touchdown pass in the earlier game this year between these two teams. New England defeating Miami 34-7 at Foxborough. With the win, Franklin hits a one-hopper that bounds into the end zone. And Miami will take over at its own 20-yard line. And again, this scintillating catch by the veteran Stanley Morgan.
Eason looked it all the way. Bud Brown perhaps should have picked up a little quickly on that, more quickly on that. Number 43, as you can see, he was backing up Judson. Judson has to play him tight. When you're down in that close to the 22-yard line, that cornerback has got to play Morgan very tight. When he's getting help from the inside, as he was from Bud Brown, Brown should have been there much more quickly.
So Miami at its own 20-yard line. Dan Marino saw his first drive end on a fumble. And the second came up just short on 4th and 1. They opted to punt. And then New England drove down the field. So from the 20-yard line, through the middle goes Lorenzo Hampton. In his second year out of Florida, he was their #1 pick. And he's really come on in the second half of the season, hoping, or the Dolphins are certainly hopeful that Hampton will help reestablish some balance in their attack.
There's a lot of things that Nathan used to do over the last few years. He's a good receiver, too. 59 receptions into tonight, over 700 yards rushing. Those used to be the kinds of numbers you would expect Nathan to have at this point in the season.
2nd and 5 from the 25 as Marino throws to the 39-yard line, and the catch is made by Mark Clayton. And by the way, if you haven't seen the Dolphins play a game since the last time they were on Monday night, and Clayton separated his shoulder in that game against the Jets, initially it appeared he'd be out for about 6 weeks, or in essence the season. And then they discovered the next day it was not as severe as they originally thought. He missed just 1 game and he's back.
That time New England zoned up over the left side, and Marino, with all the time in the world, and if you give him that much time, he's going to find somebody. Clayton was wide open in that gap in the zone.
Flag as Hampton picks up about 5 to the 43-yard line, and there are 2 flags, one at the inception of the play and one at the conclusion. So 2 separate penalties here. And Tony checking out both. One called by the head linesman, the other by the line judge.
You know, I don't know what you do against the Marino as they sort this one out. The Rams, with a good defensive team, they got away from what they like to do, mostly a zone defense, a week ago. And here's the call by Jim Tunney.
Illegal motion, number 85, 5-yard face mask, number 50, defense, all set, replay, first down.
Do it all over again. But the Rams got out of what they like to do and do so very well. Tried to blitz. They tried man-for-man coverage. When you come with the blitz, you have to go to that. They tried to get to this man, and they got close, but they didn't get close enough. 5 touchdowns at 403 yards later, and they had a 36-31 victory, a 37-31 victory, and those are the records he has coming up. The most amazing thing is that in 58 games played, he holds the NFL record for 400-yard games at 7.
He has them first down at the 38-yard line with Clayton in motion. Hampton again takes it out to the 38-yard line where Veras and McGrew make the tackle. So they're sticking with their ground game through the better part of the period. What will be interesting, of course, is when they turn around, the wind will be at their backs, and it's a significant breeze blowing in from the open end of the Orange Bowl, and we'll see a different second period.
Interesting, Al and I were with the Patriots in the Hall of Fame game, the very beginning of the season, back at the 1st of August, and here we are with them again, and they have come right down to sudden death. They have to win tonight. There is no wild card possibilities, nothing. If New England loses tonight, they are out of it.
2nd and 10, and it's Nathan on the ground. And again, that breeze is so strong that the Dolphins have obviously opted to play out the period and get it turned around. So the wind will be at Marino's back when we begin the second quarter at the Orange Bowl. New England on top, 7-0.
The This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Renault Jeep. Their commitment to quality and innovation form a winning team. And the Dolphins have turned it around here in the second quarter. And anyone who's ever been on the receiving end of a pass or has ever thrown one knows that with the kind of win we have in the Orange Bowl tonight, it's going to have a dramatic effect now in a positive way for the Dolphins.
And they begin the second period, 3rd down, 5, with the shotgun from their own 43-yard line. And James Pruitt, the good-looking rookie out of Cal State Fullerton, is in the game as a 4th receiver. Nat Moore is in the slot to the right. And of course, they have Duper and Clayton in there on 3rd and 5. And the pass is dropped at the 49-yard line. It's intended for Mark Clayton, and the Dolphins will have to kick.
Marino read it. The blitz was on. He had Clayton. He had the ball to Clayton. It would have been a tough catch, but one that Clayton usually just scoops up and gets the first down.
So Roby has to kick again. If he can get a hold of this one, they'll find it on the radar screen in Fort Myers. Fryer is back at his own 10. But with the wind blowing the way it is and the way Roby punts, you're looking at the end zone. And Roby has to eat it, and he's dropped at the 34-yard line. Johnny Redbird came in so quickly that Roby couldn't get the kick away.
He was absolutely clean. Roby had no shot, had to pull it down. He knew it would have been blocked. Roby thought about trying to get it off a second time and then just covered it up. Watch number 52. Totally clean. Somebody blew it. Roby sees him, knows he couldn't get it off, thinks about it right here, said, no, I'll cover it up. Let the defense come out and try to do their work. Look again. And believe me, there's terror in his eyes at this point. Rimbat bearing right down on him.
And there is a lot of groaning in the Rhineland right now, otherwise known as Cincinnati. First down from the 35-yard line. Eason, against the wind, throws a beautiful spiral and off the fingertips of Irving Fryer. Well covered on the play.
Good coverage. William Judson and Renee Thompson. Renee Thompson, the rookie on the outside. He gets help now. There's 24. That's Thompson. Judson coming over to help out. And perfectly thrown ball by Eason. Just off the fingertips of Irving Fryer, who can really fly. Good coverage, though. Renee Thompson, of course, filling in for an injured Paul Langford, making his 4th start tonight.
2nd and 10 from the 35-yard line. And that's Reggie Dupard losing the football at the 40-yard line. And a scramble, and New England maintains possession as Greg Hawthorne pounces on it. Dupard, the #1 pick out of SMU, a man who spent all of the first half of the season on injured reserve and just began to see some action in recent times. Fumbles on his first carry, and Hawthorne saves the day, at least for the moment.
Steve Grogan calls the plays as we look once again. Dupard over the left side. Down he goes. But it puts Ray Berry into a funny position now. He'd like to get it down around the 25 or 30. He'd like to get the first down, but he also wants to get it into Tony Franklin's field goal range if he can. Steve Grogan has called this play.
3rd down and 14, and the pass is caught by Collins at the 30. So in a way, they're in range here, but again, it would be about a 47-yard kick and into a very stiff wind.
I think that's what he wanted to do. Out comes Franklin. It would have been very dangerous to try to take it up any deeper. Franklin was hitting the ball. We watched him with the wind. He hit 2 straight from 61 yards. He has a very strong foot. He's having an absolutely fabulous year. His best of the season, 49 yards. Leads the NFL in scoring on the way to the Pro Bowl. What did Ray Berry liken him to? He said he's tough. He'd be a linebacker if he was a football player.
47-yarder, Eason puts it down, and the kick is up, and it is long enough and good.
Great call by Grogan. Not getting it dangerous, a conservative call to move it to within the range of Tony Franklin. So they get the 3 points. And things are going well for New England.
Half at the Orange Bowl in Miami. Al Michaels and Frank Gifford, our final Monday night telecast, and the final game of the regular season, and the wild card games coming up Sunday. We know the Rams go to Washington, and the other game is in question. It will either be Cincinnati at Kansas City or Kansas City at the Jets.
An idea of the wind that is blowing here tonight as the front is moving through or moving out, and the ball just blowing off the tee. Tony Franklin drilled it through, though, a few moments ago. Great concentration. There it is. You can see it on the flag, and it's not gusting. It's just consistently right into the teams that are moving from your left to right. And the Dolphins, if you think ahead, will have the win in the fourth quarter.
And yet into that wind, Eason threw that beautiful pass to Spire, and Franklin was able to kick the 47-yard field goal. But the wind holds this kickoff up, and it's a fumble at the 25-yard line, and the Patriots are there to pounce on the football. Steve Goy, number 59, Larry Lee had to make the catch, and Lee is an offensive lineman and special teams member on that floating kick, and so the wind holds it up, but the Patriots wind up with the break.
You know, he had to do it because the wind held that ball up there for so long. Take a look at the mad scramble for it. Larry Lee, an offensive lineman, and he made the right move, because had he not, that ball is free on a kickoff. It could have been recovered had he not done that. He's just not used to carrying the football, and he was really hammered.
Greg Hawthorne was the man who created the fumble, and now New England has the football at the Miami 25-yard line with 12:55 to play in the first half.
And the waterfront in Covington, Kentucky. Boomer and Chris got to be quieting down. There's Boomer Esiason on the left. Some of the other Bengals, they of course need a Miami victory tonight to stay in as a wild card.
First and 10 at the 25-yard line. James for a gain of 1. One saving grace if you're a Bengal fan. If you got to go down 10-0, you want Marino to be on the other side.
This was a touchdown, a 22-yard shot earlier. It was Eason to Stanley Morgan. Judson, 49, is on the coverage. 1 foot comes down. This is what we were concerned about earlier. Judson pushes Morgan, and that takes him out of bounds before that other foot could come down inbounds. And so the call from the field was allowed to stand, and it was a good call.
There had been contact. Second down, 9 at the Dolphin 24. Hawthorne in motion. James follows to Tupu, slides to the outside, fumbles the football. Dolphins have it. Mark Brown. And Brown gets up and runs with the football and takes it out to the 43-yard line.
That was still alive, and the New England Patriots, some of them were even leaving the field. Mark Brown gets the football, slow getting up, and then realized he was still alive, and he takes it up close to the 40-yard line.
William Judson created the fumble.
Look again, Craig James behind Tutupu, sees nothing inside, takes it to the outside, and there is Judson. The ball comes free. Now watch Mark Brown. I'm not even sure it's free. Now down the sidelines he goes, and he gets it back out to the 32-yard line. Good effort, and the Dolphins get the turnover. They get the ball back.
Bowl memory. The year was 1972. The Dolphins in only their 7th year of existence, led by Larry Zonka on the ground. And then when Bob Greasy was hurt, Earl Morrow through the air. Miami goes on to win Super Bowl 7, and they wind up with a mark of 17-0.
Mike Brown returns the fumble to the 33-yard line. He's filled big shoes this year. Hugh Green went out at that linebacking spot in the 4th game. He was the man the Dolphins had planned to provide the pass rush that has been almost non-existent for them thus far this year. As a matter of fact, Hugh Green is still one of the top leaders in sacks, and he only played 3 games for the Dolphins this year.
Tied for the team lead in sacks with 4. First and 10, Miami from the 32-yard line. Marino short drop, and then fires complete to Clayton. First down out at the 50-yard line.
Oh, that's pretty. A little crossing pattern underneath Clayton, underneath Dan Johnson, or Dan Johnson crossing with Clayton, and Marino waited until he cleared the zone area. It was a roll to Clayton, and he was wide open.
First and 10, Miami at the New England 49. 11.5 minutes to go in the first half. 10-0 Patriots. Hampton holds, breaks a tackle, and runs it down to the 31-yard line.
Oh, and did he cover the football that time? The Patriots trying to alternate between the blitz. There they bring a linebacker and the zone. And when you pop it and you have that kind of a rush coming in, you usually get big yardage. And watch Hampton covered up. He dropped a couple tonight. This one he covers up and gets the first down at the 31-yard line. And the first-round draft pick of a year ago has turned into a fine offensive weapon for these Dolphins. Good receiver, and as you can see, a fine runner.
First and 10 at the 31-yard line. They split Dan Johnson, normally a tight end, wide to the left. And with Duper and Clayton both set to the right, it's Marino firing, and incomplete intended for Johnson. Johnson at 6'3" and 240, and the backup tight end to Bruce Hardy, but flanked out that time.
Dolphins have always used 2 to 3 tight ends. Now Bruce Hardy comes back in. Hardy's having by far his best year, over 50 receptions into tonight. And when you have a tight end that's getting those kinds of numbers and receptions, Hardy had 51, Johnson 18 receptions. That means you're going to get looser coverage on your outside men, Clayton and Duper, because you just can't cover a Hardy with those kinds of numbers with a linebacker.
Second and 10. Marino drops one over the middle for Davenport. And Davenport, who had a big run in overtime last week against the Rams, takes it to the 26-yard line. Rembert makes the tackle, and Marino has just tied his own mark established in the Dolphins Super Bowl season 1984. And before this night is done, Marino will have eclipsed Dan Fouts' mark for most attempts in one season.
Unlike a lot of 300-yard passes, Dan Fouts is usually a winner when he passes for 300 yards. The average rate is 44% winning by other quarterbacks, but not Dan Marino. He's something like 16 and 6 for 300-yard games.
Third down and 5 from the 26-yard line. Marino goes over the middle and in and out of the hands of Tony Nathan. The pass was right there, and so that stops the drive.
It's one you'll think about all night long, too, and Marino did everything but catch this for Tony Nathan. Nathan got bumped at the line of scrimmage, lost his concentration perhaps, but Marino had it right in his hands, had a soft touch on it, and the Dolphins are going to have to settle for the field goal attempt. They would have had a first down probably inside the 10-yard line.
Claude Reves, who had a very erratic early season and has been more consistent of late, from the 33-yard line, a 43-yard attempt with the win. Don Strock to hold. And the kick is good, and good by a lot. So they wind up with 3. Goes into the books as a 42-yarder, and it comes with 9:34 to go in the first half.
Tony Eason has gone to the locker room, the quarterback of the New England Patriots. He has hurt his right shoulder. He did that tackling Mark Brown on the fumble recovery and the ensuing run. The quarterback will be Steve Grogan, who filled in so nobly for Eason last year in their drive to a wild card and eventually the Super Bowl. As a matter of fact, came in and filled in for Eason when Eason was 0 for 6 against the Bears in the Super Bowl. So we have a veteran that will replace Eason. We'll try and get a definitive report on Eason's injury.
Reves kicks off with the wind and well into the end zone, and thus New England will take over at the 20. And here comes Grogan now. Grogan all season long has been calling the plays. They have been signaled in by Ramsey, and Grogan calls his own plays when he is forced to replace Eason. So Grogan, who replaced Eason in Foxborough in the game between these two teams, he was 6 of 10 that day for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Ray Berry has no compunction at all about putting him in there. He is really fond of him as an individual who has subordinated his own role. He feels he will start for many teams around the league. But it does change the timing dramatically for a team.
First and 10 at the 20-yard line, and they start with a pass to Irving Fryer, and Fryer scrambles out to the 29, and we'll go back and take a peek now at the fumble returned by Brown and how Eason winds up injuring his right shoulder.
James had fumbled the football. Here comes Mark Brown bringing it back. There is Tony Eason. And Tony Eason threw the right shoulder, caught the knee of Mark Brown. He's in the locker room. They're looking at that shoulder now. The first call. And Grogan will call his own plays as he does from the sidelines when Eason is in there. And he gave himself something gentle. A little sure completion out to Irving Fryer. Just kind of get the feel of it. He hasn't been in there for quite a while.
2nd and a yard with Fryer going in motion. And Tutupu getting the first down. Stopped at the 31-yard line. 1st and 10. Mosey Tutupu getting the start tonight. Normally they go with Collins and James. They'd love to throw to Collins, but Tutupu went there for the short yardage situations with the blocking, as they hope to stay on the ground as much as they can and keep Marino off the field as long as they can.
Rogan, of course, the quarterback that came up 12 years ago from Kansas State. Sent Jim Plunkett on out to the Raiders. Changed a lot of lives. Started for many years for New England. And he has a big chore ahead of him tonight.
This is Dupard, the rookie, out to the 35-yard line. Dupard was hurt through the first half of the season. He was on injured reserve. We mentioned earlier it was a toe injury. It's what is known as turf toe. It's normally indigenous to artificial surfaces. The irony was he injured the toe on a grass field in practice.
Ray Berry did not give us a shoe commercial either today. He was very critical of the very lightweight shoes, the non-supportive shoes that are used primarily now throughout the league. Ray Berry, I think, a little old-fashioned in many ways, but he did believe that that was one of the principal reasons for toe injuries.
2nd and 7 at the 35-yard line. On an end around, it's Hawthorne cutting it back and getting it out to the 40-yard line. He is shy of the first down by about 2. Mike Charles, number 71, the erratic nose tackle, makes the stop. Charles, who plays the nose, is a guy who apparently has a great deal of ability, 4th-year man out of Syracuse, but he has not picked up a sack all season.
Interesting to watch the play calling now, Grogan. He's in the game. It'll be probably different than he would have called for Tony Eason. Maybe throwing a little underneath a little more. Maybe not the strength of Eason to go deep, but he also, we saw him use a reverse.
3rd and 2, a split back. Everybody out into the pattern, and he's going deep and incomplete.
Like I say, he won't go deep.
Intended for Fryer. He figured he had Fryer matched up on the rookie Thompson, and he would take a shot, but it wasn't to be. So 4th down with 6:26 to go in the half. And into the wind, Camarillo will kick. Line of scrimmage is the 39. Patriots on top 10-3. Again, the situation is this. If New England wins the game, they win the AFC East, and Cincinnati is out of the playoffs. If they lose, as you look at Ellis back to receive, Cincinnati is in the playoffs. They would be at Kansas City Sunday. Otherwise, if New England wins, Kansas City goes to play the Jets on Sunday, and New England has the weekend off.
That's beautiful.
Good kick, but it takes a Miami bounce.
Did it ever?
Oh, boy, that's as big a bounce as you'll see coming back the other way. The ball was down near the 10 and bounces back to the 20. What would have been a 50-yard kick turns out to be a 40. And 1st down Miami when we come back from the 20 with New England ahead by a touchdown. Miami final game in this facility for the Miami Dolphins before a sellout crowd, but the game was not sold out 72 hours before kickoff unless we're blacked out tonight in the Miami area. The 75,000 looking on at the Orange Bowl. Miami at its own 20-yard line, 1st and 10. 6:13 remaining in the half. New England on top 10-3. Marino, wind at his back. Fires over the middle, intended for Duper. Incomplete. 2nd down and 10. Roland James covering on the play.
And he had Duper's attention. Marino had led Duper, who was wide open, just a little into the middle, and I think Duper caught a glimpse of 38. Maybe lost the concentration for just a moment. Patriots are alternating between bringing a linebacker and dropping deep into the coverage. They're trying to confuse Marino. He reads it very well. even when he doesn't read it well, he's so accurate that he often can just stick it in there.
On 2nd and 10. Marino fires complete. Duper makes the catch and is run out of bounds at the 42-yard line. Duper is the chant. Raymond Claiborne provides the coverage. Well, the Dolphins will not be going to the playoffs as Marino has just completed a pass that eclipses his own record, and the crowd responds to the announcement on the PA.
Duper just a full sprint, and he just forces Claiborne back to respect that speed, that he might take it down and in, might take it on a fly. Claiborne, even with deep help on the inside, had to respect it. And the pickup off the strong arm of Marino, who gets it wide to Duper.
1st and 10 at the 42-yard line. Flag is down. Marino going deep and has it picked off at the 35-yard line. But again, there's a penalty marker down, and James runs it back to about the 42 of Miami. But let's see about the call. There was movement up front. Duper was one of those moving. And if that's the case, then the play would stand.
Illegal motion, number 85, offense is declined. Ball was intercepted. First down.
That's Duper. And Don Shula looks on as his team gives it up to New England, and they have it at the 44.
There is the movement there. He tries to catch himself. They pick it up. Clayton was, I believe, the intended receiver as Marino put it right into the hands of Roland James. Marino gave it a quick look to the left, tried to fire deep to Clayton, underthrew it by a large margin, and James picks it up.
3rd turnover for Miami tonight. Grogan for Beatty and batted away at the last moment. A nice play by the veteran Bob Brudzinski in his 10th year at Ohio State, getting his hand on it to knock it away.
And that's not his long suit. He's tough against the run over that strong side, and they're asking him to cover a very fine receiver over the past few weeks. Not a badly thrown ball by Grogan, and a super effort for Brudzinski to get there.
2nd and 10, 5:44 remaining in the half. New England on top by 7. 2nd and 10 at the 44. Grogan hit as he throws and incomplete. Fryer covered on the play, and Offerdahl leveled Grogan. Offerdahl is the rookie, the 2nd-round pick. They didn't have a 1st-round choice. They had traded it away in the Hugh Green deal, so he was their 1st pick on the 2nd round, and he's going to the Pro Bowl.
And as a starter, and since the merger in 1970, he becomes the 4th defensive rookie starter that's voted into the Pro Bowl. Offensive players get voted in there frequently as rookies, but he joins the likes of Lawrence Taylor, Ronnie Lott, Al Baker, and he becomes the 4th. And that's quite a tribute. He calls the defenses for the Dolphins. He's had a superb year, and he played most of it injured. Had a very severely injured arm earlier in the year.
Shotgun 3rd and 10 at the 44. Grogan protected well, throws into traffic, completed the 25 for a 1st down. And somehow finding the seam and getting inside was Stanley Morgan, and leave it to Stanley.
You got to love this about Grogan. And again, for 12 years, he has been the kind of quarterback that will stand out there and take the punishment, and he took a lot of it. He had a lot of pressure. Stanley Morgan got hit by Thompson within that 5-yard zone, found a little open area of the Dolphin zone right there, and Grogan, with people all around him, stood in there like the stoic that he is and fired it for the 1st down.
Morgan's 2nd catch, 1st and 10 New England at the 26-yard line. Grogan on a busted play, sacked at the 32 by Mark Brown.
That's lack of playing time. Either that or he tried to change it off and no one picked it up because both backs had moved to the right. Now, they could not both be wrong. Grogan said, well, you heard him say it. My fault. Let's take a look at it again. Here comes Mark Brown, number 51, who's been all over the field for the Dolphins this evening. This is one they could have nailed with the flag.
Yeah,
he really got
absolutely.
him.
That's Brown's 5th sack. He's the team leader, and that's in sharp contrast to Lawrence Taylor.
20.5 for Lawrence Taylor.
Grogan for Fryer, but Irving drops the ball. He got popped by Offerdahl, who's all over the joint tonight.
He is everywhere. They have been using him in many tight end situations where he covers from his linebacking position. They've been blitzing with him. And just the fact that Irving Fryer went up for this is a testament to his courage, because he knew he was going to get pounded, and he did get pounded. Grogan hanging that up instead of drilling it. Grogan showing a little bit of the rust. That one he would have had to fire in there if he was going to get it complete for Fryer, and he threw it a little late.
3rd down 16. Some people were surprised when Offerdahl was named to the Pro Bowl, but you're seeing a pretty good exhibition tonight. And the crowd noisy, and a timeout called by New England. So Grogan's going to take a timeout with a 3rd and 16 upcoming and 4:33 remaining in the first half at the Orange Bowl in Miami. So Grogan, who calls his own plays, gets together with Berry and the gang. New England on top by 7.
I was say, what are we going to talk about over here? Ray Berry, of course, lets him coach. Lets him coach Tony Eason. Lets him call the plays from the sidelines. Well, Berry's disappeared.
What we can talk about here is upcoming action. This is our final Monday night game, but coming up from Honolulu this Saturday, we'll have the Aloha Bowl for you as Arizona takes on North Carolina, and our coverage will begin at 3:30 Eastern time, which means 10:30 in the morning in Honolulu for the early kick. And then the Florida Citrus Bowl, Auburn against USC, with Ted Tollner coaching the Trojans. Tollner's been fired, but he'll coach on January the 1st. New Trojan coach yet to be named. And then the Sugar Bowl later that day at 3:30 Eastern time as Nebraska takes on LSU in New Orleans.
And as we come back now to the live action, we are in a similar situation we were earlier when Grogan has a 3rd down, long yardage, about 18, and he wants to get it closer, I'm sure, for Tony Franklin. It'll be a high percentage pass to do so, I do believe.
3rd and 17, and it's caught by Hawthorne, and Hawthorne is well shy of the first down as he stopped at the 27-yard line, and that'll set up about a 44-yard attempt for Franklin.
But he did throw the high percentage pass. He did not try to go up for the first down, some 18 yards, where the percentage drops off dramatically, particularly with the Dolphins in their prevent defense. Had 6 defensive backs out there. He threw to the one he knew he could get. He got about 6 yards out of it, 5 yards out of it, but he did get Franklin, who is the hot kicker in the league, well within range.
It will be spotted at the 34-yard line. Eason normally does the holding, and Tom Ramsey has to hold, so it's the backup holder. But the spot is good, and the kick is just barely over the crossbar.
It almost blew back.
It died in the wind, but had enough on it, 44 yards. It was straight and it was true, but that wind kept pushing it back and back, but not back far enough for the Dolphins.
What a year Franklin is having.
Franklin, who
40.
He'd worn out his welcome in Philadelphia. He'd missed some critical kicks. He'd incurred the wrath of the fans and even some of his teammates, and then he was picked up for a lark, for a song, and a deal with New England, and he's been the best there is in the conference this year.
Good placement by Ramsey, who has not worked that role, and as you can see, the ball well on his way. He was kicking about 60 yards before the game with the wind. Into this gale, he nails it for 44 yards, and he knew he had it. So yeah, he might have got a little antsy about this point, as it just did clear the crossbar.
3:41 to play in the half. 13-3, and with the wind blowing the way it is, up at the 20-yard line, staying Ellis and Kozlowski.
They're up there because a short while ago, Franklin put one up. Larry Lee, a lineman, had to handle it. And it hangs up in the air against this wind. And it'll stay up there a long time. And they want the sure-handed people handling the football.
Better kick this time. And at the 11-yard line, it's Craig Ellis. Out to the 30, and Ellis with a good run back out to the 35-yard line. And so the Dolphins with 3.5 minutes to play in the first half, and the Dolphins the highest scoring team in the NFL, as Ellis comes off a little shaken up after the run back. Miami taking over at their own 35-yard line.
Dolphins need to get it happening right here. Down 13-3. They need to move the ball. They have the wind. They will not have it in the third quarter. They need to go in with a touchdown. They have everything going for them right now. The ball in good field position. And this is usually where Marino unleashes the lightning.
From the 35 over the middle, wide open, and a first down. Bruce Hardy, the tight end, makes the catch. Ninth-year man out of Arizona State.
It's almost become automatic now for the Dolphins. They come up there. Bruce Hardy over 50 receptions into the night. They look out on the corners. They see double coverage, and they get it so often against Clayton on one side, Duper on the other side. That means if you're in your regular 3-4 defense, you're going to have to be covering Hardy. You're going to have to be covering with at least a linebacker in the short area, and he has had his best year in 9 seasons.
From the 47 on 1st and 10. Marino throwing, and the catch is made at the 41-yard line. A great catch on the far side, as coming back to make the play was Mark Clayton. Ernest Gibson was covering. Gibson, the man taking Ronnie Lepet's spot.
And it almost is a rhythm as Marino gets hot, gets the wind, he gets receivers open, and it's almost a 1-2-3 bang, first down. 1-2-3 bang, first down. It's almost like a rhythm that they develop once they start moving and this crowd starts to get into it.
1st and 10 at the New England 42-yard line. Marino chased, throws over the middle, incomplete. Bruce Hardy got a hand up, but the pressure was put on that time as Andre Tippett paid a visit. 2nd down and 10.
New England alternating between the zone, and then every 3rd or 4th time in passing situations they'll come with the blitz. That time they brought Tippett, who last year was a major force from the outside, much like Lawrence Taylor. He had 16.5 sacks a year ago, knee injury, middle of the season this year, orthoscopic surgery. Coming into tonight, only 9.5 sacks. And there's our guys.
Boomer Esiason on the left, and Chris Collinsworth on the right. And we'll talk to Boomer at halftime. Guys, that looks like a she place. Can we get a reservation there?
I don't know about that.
Slip him a 20 out.
All right, we won't talk to you at halftime then. 2nd down and 10 from the 42. Reverse. Clayton goes all the way back to his own 45, but turns the corner and turns it into a nice game as he gets buried at the 30 by Roland James.
Speed. My, does it help in this game. It looked like he was going to be nailed behind the line of scrimmage. The inside handoff goes to Hampton. Here is Clayton. He just does get away from Brent Williams. Out sprints him down the sidelines and turns a major loss with sheer speed into a first down at the 30-yard line.
2-minute warning.
My mother-in-law
In the first half, New England on top 13-3. Again, setting the situation. If New England wins, they go to the playoffs. They also have next week off, and the Jets would host Kansas City. If Miami wins, New England is done for the year, and Cincinnati is in the playoffs, and the Bengals would play the wild card game at Kansas City on Sunday. 1st and 10. Miami at the 30 of New England.
And with their 3 timeouts.
Marino out of a split back set with everybody going into the pattern, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Ron Davenport, who was coming out of the backfield, covered by Roland James. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
The straight back coverage on the part of the prevent defense of New England. Now we'll see if they change it up. They've been not alternating it, but they have been almost 1 and 3 on a blitz. And 3 times going with their zone coverage. And then every so often they come with the blitz with Tippett. They bring Blackman, trying to outguess with the Miami Dolphins.
2nd down and 10. And a look from the bleachers as Marino comes up in the shotgun at the 30-yard line.
Here they come.
And he fires complete to Moore. Nice inside move and hit down at the 16 and the first down.
When you come, you better get there, at least get in his face. They brought both outside men. They brought Blackman, they brought Tippett. They were picked up. Good blocking by the Dolphins. Now they go into their hurry-up offense. They've called another play in the huddle. Ready to go. Marino directing the traffic.
At the 17-yard line, a timeout is called by New England. Interesting little call here as it's Miami running the hurry-up offense, and New England, to get themselves set on defense, wind up taking the timeout with 1:30 to go in the first half. It's an odd call.
They didn't lose many seconds, however, because the 30-second clock had ticked well down, and I think they wanted to make sure they were in the right defense, wanted to make sure the right one was called.
It's been a while since I've seen the defensive unit call a timeout in such a circumstance. And so the Patriots are down to 1, and the Dolphins have all 3. Not that they'll need them the way they run their 2-minute drill at the 17-yard line. By the way, in case you've forgotten, this has been a house of horrors for the New England Patriots. The first time they came in here in 1966, they won a game. Then they lost 18 straight games here. 17 in the regular year and 1 playoff game, and then finally got off that schneid last year in the AFC Championship game.
They got lucky one year. They moved it up to Tampa Bay, and they won that one.
Yeah, right.
But it has been a house of horrors for them. Of course, last year they won the AFC Championship game here. And they, at least for the moment, in control 13-3.
First and 10 as Shula looks on. His team is at the 17. New England on top by 10. Marino protected well again and incomplete. Ron Davenport, the intended receiver, over the middle, and Fred Marion got a hand on the ball.
Patriots bringing their 3 down and their 1 linebacker McGrew and dropping into the coverage. It's a guessing game all the way.
You know, with Shula not going to the playoffs, Frank, one thing that he'll be able to do this year is watch his son finally play a college football game. Don and his wife Dorothy are going to go to El Paso, where Mike, who's been the quarterback for the University of Alabama, takes on the University of Washington. So the Shulas will be in El Paso, and Don will get to see his son play his final college game. 2nd and 10. Fired over the middle and complete to Dan Johnson at the 4-yard line. It'll be 1st and goal.
That time, even covering with Roland James, a strong safety. Marino was able to get it in there. It was good coverage by James. He was all over Dan Johnson, but as timeout is called by Miami, Dan Johnson made a good move on James, and Marino just so strong. He just forced that ball in there to Johnson.
So 1:16 remaining and 2 timeouts left for Miami as they have it 1st down and goal at the 4. And if you're thinking about running the ball into the end zone, the Dolphins have only 1 man who has scored a touchdown rushing this season. That's Lorenzo Hampton. Woody Bennett has not scored. Ron Davenport has not scored on the ground. Marino has not sneaked the ball into the end zone. Nathan has not scored a rushing touchdown. Only Hampton, through 15 games, has put the ball in on the ground.
They have thrown a lot of them. Duper on the end of the night, 11 touchdowns. On the other side, Clayton with 8 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns by Hardy. A couple by Johnson. They like to get it from way out, and there is Lorenzo Hampton, #1 draft pick out of Florida, and has become the new Tony Nathan. Bigger and stronger, but a fine receiver and a gifted runner down here. 2 timeouts now for the Dolphins. They can be perfectly calm, perfectly cool. There is no rush.
1st and 10 out of the I, with Hampton the I back.
They should give you a little play action down here.
And he does, and he shoots one out complete, and stopped at the 1-yard line is Ron Davenport by Johnny Rembert, and that keeps the clock running, which is not all that bad if Miami winds up in the end zone, because they want to take as much off the clock as they can. And Marino hurrying them up, but there's really no real need. They still have 2 timeouts left here.
No panic.
2nd down and 1. And diving through the middle goes Hampton, but he is shy of the 1st down. And it's 3rd down. And you know who they're rooting for.
No running.
And Collinsworth wants a pass here. Boomer, what do you think? Pass or run? Give me a signal.
Have a pass here.
Pass?
I think he should pass. He needs more touchdown passes.
All right.
Put my boy Nat Moore in the Florida Gator at 6. I guarantee it.
All right. So we know what they're thinking in Cincinnati.
Well, what'd you run, Boomer? Can you hear us?
What would you run?
I'd run a pass.
Little
Third
play
down.
action?
Get the, second best QB in the league. Got a pass.
Oh, that's
Don't
great.
laugh down there. I tell you what, this boy right here had a day yesterday that'll be remembered for a long time around here.
5 touchdowns. You had a pretty good day, too. 3 touchdown catches.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. When you get to be my age, you got to get all the help you can over at national television.
Yeah.
What would you do, Boomer? A little play action down here?
Say again?
What would you come with? A little play action, keep their attention?
Yeah, I think so. Just, fake it to Hampton and just hit one of the guys in the flat. I thought he had a touchdown before, but it looks like he was in slow motion, whoever that guy was.
All right, 3rd down and goal. Ball is at the 1. 46 seconds remaining in the first half. 13-3 Patriots. And they come up in a very tight formation with no wide receivers, and then they swing Hampton into motion. And over the middle, it is caught by the tight end for a touchdown, Hardy. Play action and over the middle.
Hardy, the 5th touchdown reception for Hardy this year, who has been such a key factor. They have had to pay a lot of attention to Hardy with Clayton and Duper on the outside, drawing double. There's the play action, a little move to the setback, just an attention getter. McGrew too late, and Hardy's in the end zone, and we've got this one very close.
Just goes to show you what happens when you have Boomer Esiason as your offensive coordinator.
It's so easy from that armchair in the waterfront restaurant in Covington, Kentucky.
Wide Reves for the point after. 41 seconds. When New England gets the ball back, they have 1 timeout, and they'll go into the win. Reves puts it through, and that makes it 13-10. And Dan Marino, who holds the record with 48 touchdown passes in the Super Bowl season, has thrown his 42nd.
That's the 2nd best effort. Here's a young man that maybe that's not too far out of the reach for him. Every year, this young man is improving. Great game against the Jets. We'll be talking with Boomer and Chris Collinsworth at halftime.
I'll tell you, I can't hear a word you guys say. It's too loud here.
Oh, it's all nice
crazy.
things. Everything you'd love. He has had some year.
And so Cincinnati again very much hand in hand as they watch this game in the Miami huddle and on the sidelines, and Cincinnati's fate to be determined tonight by the Dolphins. Pure and simple. Miami wins, Cincinnati goes to Kansas City, and if Miami loses, the Bengals are off.
Tough too when you think it all began back in July, 2 a day, wearing the body out. Here we are, a few days before Christmas is winding down, and your future for the next few weeks is still in doubt. Of course, out in Kansas City, they're wondering what's going to happen also.
Kansas City, amazing yesterday. 3 special teams touchdowns, outgained by almost exactly a 3-to-1 ratio by the Steelers, who had over 500 yards to about 170 for KC. And yet on the scoreboard at the end, it's the Chiefs.
What a fine drive a moment ago by the Dolphins. Typical Marino Dolphin drive.
Reves kicks off, and the only man back deep is Fryer. And Irving comes out to the 22-yard line. And here comes Grogan again. And if you tuned in late, Eason started, and then Tony was injured his right shoulder as he tried to make a tackle on Mark Brown, the linebacker, who was running with a recovered fumble. And thus it is Grogan, the longtime veteran out of Kansas State in his 12th year, as you look at the numbers on Miami's scoring drive.
And he's had some great games over the year. I mentioned earlier, we know that Ray Berry has no compunction at all about him being in there. Talked to him this morning about Grogan. Says he would start for so many teams around the league. It's just that he plays behind Easton, has subordinated his own role to that, and has handled that role so very well.
Shotgun, and they hand it off to Tony Collins, and Collins takes it out to the 29-yard line. Now New England has 1 timeout remaining, and they're also going into the wind, and the way they're moving here, they'll just be content to run it out and take their 3-point advantage into the locker room. And that will be the case here. If Miami wanted to stop the clock on defense, they could with only 1 timeout, and Ray Barry will just let the clock run down and be content with a 3-point halftime margin.
Makes a lot of sense too, Al. You get an interception down there, even at midfield. Reveille, with that wind, would be in position to give it a field goal shot.
So 13-10, New England at the half. And Monday Night Football will return right after this commercial and a message from your local station.
Back in the Orange Bowl, we're at halftime. The New England Patriots over the Miami Dolphins, 13-10, a game the New England Patriots must win, or they are gone from any possible playoff picture. And we'll be back in the Orange Bowl with our halftime activities. Right now, we join Peter Jennings, ABC News in New York. Frank Gifford and Al Michaels at the Orange Bowl. We're watching the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. The Patriots over the Dolphins at halftime, 13-10. The Patriots can win the AFC Eastern Division with a victory tonight, and that would have a lot of ramifications. Number one, it would eliminate Cincinnati from any possible playoff hopes. And, of course, the Jets would then become the wild card. But should Miami defeat New England tonight, that means that Cincinnati is in. They had a big day yesterday, blowing away the New York Jets, and they would go on and play this weekend against Kansas City. We've been having a lot of fun with a couple of friends of ours out in Cincinnati at the Waterfront Cafe that they co-own, Boomer Esiason and Chris Collinsworth, and let's have them join us right now. And they've been chuckling and laughing, but believe me, this has got to be tearing at their gut a little bit, Al.
Well, Boomer called the play on 3rd down when he thought they should go to play action and find somebody in the end zone. That turned out to be Hardy. Boomer, your impressions of the first half, and what sort of feeling do you get now as we head into the second half?
Well, I felt it was really important for Miami to score there at the end of the half because they're only going to have the win 1 more quarter, and I think they would have wasted a big opportunity if they had not scored. So I'm a little disappointed. I would have liked to see Miami up about 21-0, but I'll take the score as it is, and hopefully Dan will come out with the boys and score a few more times.
Well, Boomer, let's talk about the importance of the wind, and we have a pretty good gale blowing here. I'd say 15 to 20 miles per hour at time. How important that is to a passer, number one, in the effectiveness, and number two, psychologically?
Well, I'll tell you, it's real tough to throw into the wind, and you got to try to keep the ball down low. And I know Chris could probably tell you that it's even tougher for the receivers to try to catch the ball when it's coming into the wind. When you're throwing with the wind, you feel real good about yourself. You feel like you got a strong arm, and I hope that the Miami Dolphins have the wind in the fourth quarter. I don't know who won the toss at the beginning of the game, but hopefully Miami will get the ball with the wind in the fourth quarter.
Just for the record, Miami had won it. Chris, let me ask you about the Bengals. You guys may be going to the playoffs. An up and down year. You lose that big game to Cleveland, but you rebound yesterday and win 52-21. How would you sum up the Bengals season, and where is that team right now?
Well, I tell you, our entire team and our entire season is sitting right over here to my right. When Boomer Esiason is playing his brand of football, we're awfully tough to beat. And I tell you, when we get into the playoffs, if we get a chance to get in there, I think you're going to see a quarterback as cool as the other side of the pillow. I'm sure
he's lobbying for passes. I want you to know that, guys.
I've spent a lot of money on drinks on this guy over the past few years, and I just hope that we just get our shot. That's all we hope for.
You guys have had a lot. Excuse me. You guys have had a lot of fun all year long. It has been up and down. It's all up now, and I guess if Miami takes it tonight, it will be all up for both of you and the rest of you.
Well, you know, this is a Cincinnati soap opera out here. We've really enjoyed this year, and Chris and I have been a big part of it, and our teammates have been great, and it's something that we don't want to end. We want to take the soap opera right on into the playoffs.
Gentlemen, we thank you very much, and it's odd to note, Frank, the way things have worked out. A couple of hot teams will not be going to the playoffs, namely Seattle. They won 5 straight. Let's say Miami wins here tonight. That would be 7 out of 9. They're out. A team like the Jets are in. And this really has to be an agonizing 30 minutes coming up for the Cincinnati Bengals.
And should Miami win, the Jets would win the Eastern Division of the AFC. They have lost 5 games in a row. Hard to believe it could become happening. We'll be returning to the Orange Bowl after this message from our local stations. Stay with us for all. No further word on Tony Eason's injured right shoulder, so it would appear that Steve Grogan will be carrying the load for the New England Patriots tonight as we begin the second half with the Patriots leading 13-10 in a game they must win. When he came in a little shaky, he will settle down. He has played this role before, and this man, when he gets it happening, you know it's going to be lightning. It was a typical Marino Dolphin drive right before the end of the first half that put the 6 points up there, the touchdown pass to Hardy. He is electrifying. I said at the very top of the telecast, he's certainly one of the best in the game right now, and it could be that he will go down as maybe the best of all time if he stays on the road in which he's involved. The record book is just absolutely sprinkled already in just 4 years with Dan Marino.
Fuad Reves to kick off. I echo your sentiments about Marino, Frank. I think one of the things that they wonder about is his knees. Among other things, he's going in for what he calls an oil change.
You like it?
And that's why he may miss the Pro Bowl.
He's been elected all 4 years. He's been there once because of those oil changes.
Stephen Starring was the man back deepest as Reves kicks with the wind to start the third period, and with the wind makes a whole lot of difference.
The wind we were talking to Boomer Esiason about is going to make a dramatic difference in this football game.
And the numbers through the first 30 minutes, Miami turning the ball over 3 times early.
And they led the league in fewest turnovers coming into tonight. A lot of those 201 total yards are reflected in that last drive to put the 6 on the scoreboard.
So New England will go into the wind in the third, meaning they're with the wind in the fourth. Grogan off the play fake completes it, and forward progress to Morgan nets him a first down. And the report from the locker room of the Patriots, stretched nerve, right shoulder, and out for the game is Tony Eason. So it's Grogan the rest of the way.
That's the first for me, a stretched nerve. It does hurt, and he will not be back. That's the key thing.
1st and 10 from the 32-yard line. Grogan, meanwhile, playing for the first time in 8 weeks. To James for a gain of 3 to the 35-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and 7.
New England fans, of course, and anyone who follows this game very closely recalls a year ago when Eason went down early in the season and Grogan came on to really hold this team together, actually pull them together. Won 5 games for them before he turned it back over to Eason. Then again in the Super Bowl when Eason was blown away by the Chicago Bears defense early on. He was 0 for 6. Ray Berry made the change. Grogan brought it back and made it semi-respectable. He's very tough mentally, and he's very tough physically. He'll stand in there and take the hammering.
2nd and 7. He nearly lost the football. Gets it away to Morgan for a first down. Judson covers on the play. Good recovery by Grogan, who almost dropped the ball.
There was a time, and again, he started for so many years, that Grogan did a lot of things that maybe weren't aesthetically just perfect, but there were a lot of things he did like this. I mean, he made a play work out of something that was even broken. That time he did. He bobbled the football, got it back up. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective. And that's how Grogan has played quarterback. Started for 9 years with that kind of play, but he has won a lot of football games on his own ability.
From the 44, Mosey to Tupu with a big hole and a first down as he barrels his way down to the 31. Born in American Samoa, grew up in Hawaii, went to USC, and a very popular Patriot. And on his way to the Pro Bowl as a special teams member and a big first down here.
The Tupu again gets a little block from James on the inside, breaks it around. But you have to think that Ray Berry in the halftime, in his own quiet way, and he can be very dramatic in his own quiet way, pointed out once again what this game meant to New England. This is it if they don't win it.
That was Tupu's longest run in 2 seasons. On 1st and 10, Grogan for Fryer, incomplete. And Thompson was covering on the play, and Thompson wants offensive interference, and it's pretty close, but there's no flag.
You know, that was just a question of timing again. Fryer was open. Now, we'll watch him. He's open when he comes across the middle. Grogan was not ready to release it. Right there is when he should have released it. Now, he holds a little too late, and you could have called that as Fryer really hammered in. He really did. I think that one could have drawn a flag just as easily as not.
2nd down and 10 at the Miami 30-yard line. Grogan lofting one, and nobody was looking. Fryer wasn't looking, and Judson was there. And Grogan now faced with a 3rd down and 10.
Just a little shaky. He had Fryer open a little earlier, and I don't think Fryer was thinking I'm the #1 receiver on that, because he was not thinking of the reception. He was not even looking back. And once again, Grogan would like to get the 1st down. He's going to go high percentage, I'm sure, calling his own plays. Make sure he does not risk the turnover by the interception, but try to get 5 or 6 out of it. Maybe hitting it back out of the backfield just to get Franklin into better field goal range.
13-10 New England, 3rd and 10. Grogan from the shotgun, 31-yard line. Into the wind. Hawthorne in the game along with Starring. Everybody into the pattern. Set up the screen to Collins. 25 to the 23 and short of the 1st down.
But that's what he wanted. He wanted to get it closer. He did not want an incompletion because it would have been right at the edge for Tony Franklin. And what he has done, he has put Ray Berry into a possibility of going for a 1st down on 4th down.
He eschewed the field goal early on, and it resulted in a touchdown. Now it is 4th down and a yard, but this time it's Franklin, who's already proven he can kick into the wind. And this one will come from about the 29-yard line. He's made a 47-yarder and a 44-yarder.
Grogan got what he wanted. He got the completion. He didn't quite get the 1st down, but he got Franklin in close. Hottest field goal kicker in the league at the moment. He's been successful twice now into this wind, and this will be from about 39 yards.
He's kicked 12 of his last 13. Again, Eason normally holds. It's Ramsey holding. And this one is hooked. No good.
Has to be a little effect. New holder. Ramsey holding with Eason out. It looked to be all right. Franklin hooks it, and the Dolphins get a break.
Back to last season when the Chicago Bears came to Miami with a perfect record, 12-0. But Dan Marino had a big night. Miami beat Chicago 38-24. The Bears' only loss in their World Championship season. Al Michaels and Frank Gifford at the Orange Bowl in Miami, where New England leads Miami 13-10. And in essence, they lead Miami and Cincinnati 13-10 with 11 minutes to go in the 3rd period. Dan Marino on 1st and 10 as the Dolphins begin this drive from their own 22-yard line. The fake to Duper, and Duper at the 36-yard line for a 1st down. Covered on the play by Claiborne. And another look now at the errant field goal attempt.
Ramsey, the holder, the backup quarterback. That has not been his role, at least for some time. Most kickers like to have those laces spun away from them. Ramsey got them started away from Franklin, but he knew right away that he had hooked it. The hold looked to be good. A moment ago, Marino did what few people can do. We talked to one at halftime. Boomer Esiason has that kind of an arm, but he threw an out at about 17 yards right on a rope.
Hampton cuts it to the outside, breaks it at the 50, the 40, inside the 30, bumped out of bounds at the 16-yard line. And what a block on the play by Mark Duper to spring him. 47 yards.
Changed the name of the game since midseason. When we saw him against the Jets, he broke the same kind of a play, a broken play, if you will. He follows Bennett up the middle. Nothing happened. Now he breaks to the outside. Duper with a screen block to spring Hampton down the sidelines, and he almost had the speed to carry him all the way, but he gets the 1st down at the 16-yard line, 17-yard line. And when you can do this, and you have a passer like Marino, you have got the defense's attention.
That spilled a few drinks in Cincinnati. 1st and 10 at the 17-yard line. Marino, marvelous protection again. Cooper is wide open inside the 10. Takes it to the 5.
Oh, yeah, but such protection as we go back to the play before. Here is Duper. You don't want your people at 5'9", 187 doing too much, but he screens out Claiborne, a good forcing defensive cornerback. Got in Claiborne's face, did not hold him, and sprung Hampton down the sideline. But a moment ago, and we go back to the job John Sandusky, the offensive line coach, has done with the Dolphins. Marino had a full 4 or 5 seconds back there. He looked over the end zone. He looked for Clayton. He looked for the tight end Hardy. And he finally found Duper, and he has a first down goal to go.
Hampton is the eye back. Hampton on first and goal. A hard yard. It'll be second down and goal. McGrew, among others, in on the tackle. That's Strock with Shula, and Shula ready to send in the play.
And one would think we'd get the same kind of play action we had prior to the end of the first half. Some sort of a little play action. Won't be much of it because New England's not going to buy it to begin with. And then it will be Marino looking for one of the marks. And if he doesn't find them, trying to get it over the middle of the tight end.
And the tight end Hardy, as he breaks the huddle, number 84, lines up on the left side in a tight formation. Now Moore sets up wide to the left, and Dan Johnson is at the bottom of your screen and now going into motion. And Marino goes that way and throws it behind Bruce Hardy. So the tight end was the intended receiver, and Claiborne was covering.
Had him for a moment. Claiborne, on his way to the Pro Bowl, was there. And Dan Marino says, looks into the eyes of Hardy and says, I had you, pal, I just couldn't get it there.
By the way, just for the record, if this game winds up in a tie, and right now it's 13-10 Patriots, New England would win the East because they'd be a half a game in front of the Jets. If they lose, they'd have the same record as the Jets, but because of the tie-breaking procedures, they would not be a wild card. They'd be out of the playoffs.
4 wide receivers. They'll spread New England out. They'll try to give Marino enough time to pick one out. He has the 4 wides out.
On third down and goal, Marino, incomplete, intended for Pruitt, and he was covered on the play. James Pruitt covered by Ernest Gibson, and he had come back, and he wouldn't have gotten in anyway had he caught it.
Gibson filling in for an injured Ron Lepet was right there. Good coverage. And Chula, with a first down, a goal to go, is now going to have to settle for the 3-point attempt. He had a lot of time, and perhaps should have thought something a little less wide because there was good coverage on the part of Gibson.
Reveiz now, a 22-yard attempt from the 12. He made a 42-yarder earlier. Strock puts it down, and the kick is good. And it goes into the books officially as a 21-yarder, and with 8:35 remaining in the third period in Miami. This one is tied up at 13.
And they ordered a few more in Cincinnati. Us guys are
New England 13 and Miami 13 in the third quarter with 8 minutes and 35 seconds left in the period.
This is what it always should be, Al.
Yeah, right. We began the year with the best game of the package. As it turned out, Giants against the Cowboys on that opening Monday. A few blowouts since, and this one is a beauty.
Again, the wind carrying Franklin's kick well out of the end zone. Quite a man, Brian Holloway. I wish we read more and heard more about people like him. He is very actively involved in the Challenger Center, and that is a living memorial to the 7 astronauts who perished last January. Brian is getting together a auction of memorabilia from around the NFL. The league is cooperating. The alumni are cooperating. There's going to be a huge auction to help fund the Challenger Center, being supported by the families of the 7 Challenger astronauts. But that auction to be held next spring to help fund that very important center. Wish we'd hear more about that kind of action from players because they really dominate the league.
Special man, Holloway, as James takes the toss and moves it out to the 25-yard line for a gain of 5. It'll be second down and 5. Craig James, part of that Pony Express backfield. If you followed college football during those days, he and Dickerson kind of got equal billing at that point. And then Eric has made it a very unequal billing situation through his pro career.
Big year last year for James. over 1,200 yards, but Eric Dickerson just plays a different game.
Second down and 5 from the 25-yard line. Hawthorne in motion. James follows to Tupu, puts his shoulder down and picks up 2. Thus, it'll be 3rd and 3 for the Patriots from their own 27-yard line.
Last Dolphin game to be played here, and the crowd is really into this one. Dolphins blown away 34-7 in the opening game against New England, their first game. They were beaten right here in the AFC Championship game, 31-14. A lot of memories and a lot of great Dolphin fans. Oh, and there are some great memories. The Super Bowls have been played here, the undefeated season of 72. Some of the legendary names.
3rd and a short 3. They have to get to the 30-yard line, and they opt for a pass. And a deep one for Fryer, who's double covered and intercepted at the 48-yard line by Blackwood. And Blackwood is out of bounds in New England territory. And Grogan, calling his own plays, would like to have that baby back.
Should never have been thrown. He threw right into double coverage. Had to see it. Again, when you don't play, you have to be rusty. Been around a long time, a lot of experience. Looking at all the way, drawing the deep man in the zone right into the coverage. That, of course, is Blackwood. Steps right in front of the intended receiver, Irving Fryer. Ball underthrown, double coverage, and Grogan is going to go back and rethink that one.
Blackwood has 5 interceptions in his last 6 games against the Patriots, including 2 last year in that Monday night 30-27 victory for Miami.
That had a ribbon and a bow on it.
At the 46, incomplete. Intended for Woody Bennett, who drops that one. Bennett, that's the first time that he has been involved, and there is the veteran, Blackwood. Brother Lyle is back in Texas.
Interesting, this defense. Bill Arnsparger used to coach this defense. In '82, they were the #1 defense of the league. They went to the Super Bowl. In '83, his last year, they were 7th. In '84, the defense went to 19th. In '85, they went to 23rd. End of the night, they're 27th. I don't know what that says about Bill Arnsparger, but those are the facts.
2nd and 10 from the 46-yard line as Marino fires in the middle. What a catch by number 89, Nat Moore. Moore had fallen down and was able to right himself and make the grab. A great catch.
You love it when the Graybeards put on a show.
That's some show right there.
He'll go down. Marino has the ball on the way. You see it from the reverse angle. At this point, Nat Moore is on the ground. He gets up, negotiates the catch, gets the first down, and now in his 13th year, he's still coming up with the big play.
1st and 10 at the 33-yard line. 6:12 to go, 3rd period. Game is tied. Marino off balance and deep, and it is caught for the touchdown. Clayton.
Can I tell you, that's special. Off balance, getting hit, going down. Hit it right in stride. Ernest Gibson trying to stay with the man. Roland James was back there trying to help. It was just something extra special. Let's watch Clayton. Full sprint. Now these two marks, they never give up on the man. Did you see the move to the inside? That froze Gibson. He thought he was coming inside. No way that James could get into the coverage. And I don't think Marino even saw it, and they have to love it in Cincinnati. A Miami victory, and they're on their way to Kansas City for a wild card game this weekend.
Reves to kick. Strock to hold. And a 7-point Dolphin lead. Clayton has caught 4 tonight. That one 32 yards. And we've seen 2 great touchdown receptions tonight. This one by Clayton and the earlier one by Stanley Morgan.
Great move by Clayton. Look at Marino. He let it go. He let it go off balance. Had it about 45, 50 yards in the air. Clayton never gave up on him. Gave the move to the inside. Was wide open, and the ball was thrown perfectly.
You remain.
Tremendous move on Ernie Gibson. Made him buy everything to the inside. Broke behind him. Did not give up on the arm of his quarterback, Dan Marino, who had a man right in his face. Perfect combination. It's beautiful to watch, but it's almost routine.
And Clayton is a guy who a month ago appeared to be out for the year with a separated shoulder. Bouncing kick fielded at the 2-yard line by Stephen Starring. Breaks his tackle at the 22 and gets 10 more yards out of it up to the 32-yard line. And from there, will New England go into the wind? And again, they'll have the wind at their backs, but minus Eason in the fourth quarter.
Take one more look at the touchdown. Now let's watch Mark Clayton right here, and he makes Gibson buy the inside move. Look at that. Plants that left foot. Gibson had to play it for a drive to the inside. Beat all the way. His backup help, James, could never get there. And now the Patriots in a lot of trouble. A game they must win. They've lost their starting quarterback. They're in deep trouble.
Grogan over the middle, complete, and out to the 38-yard line goes Greg Hawthorne, or Collins rather. Collins making the catch for a gain of about 6. We've spent so much time tonight, Frank, talking about Cincinnati and what it means to them. The New York Jets also have a major rooting interest in this game because they'll have a bye in the wild card round with a victory here.
Joe Walton will move in with 5 straight losses, but they won a lot of games at the beginning of the season to get there.
From the 38-yard line, Grogan incomplete, intended for Tony Collins.
My old teammate JoJo Walton has lost so many people. I don't know how many he's going to get back. He lost all of his defensive line. They have really been stung. Here comes Brodzinski, and now J.T. Turner right in the face of Grogan. Down he goes. And the Miami Dolphins defense now has been given a lift by the offense.
Third down on a short 5 at the 38-yard line. 5:07 left, third quarter. Shotgun, 20-13 Miami. Fires over the middle, a flag goes down, and it's Stanley Morgan who has the first down after the 50-yard line. Morgan running across the middle, paying the price, and now Tunney will get the call from the back judge.
Flag was downfield. It will involve a defender and a receiver, and obviously it's going to work against the Dolphins.
Jim Kearney, the back judge.
Number 24, penalty is declined. Result of the play is the first down.
That's Renee Thompson. I tell you, the more I see Stanley Morgan, the more spectacular he becomes. Here's the penalty.
This is Thompson grabbing Starring as he tries to get by. Almost tore his uniform off.
But how much do you love Morgan?
Got to.
He'll catch him deep. He'll catch him over the middle, the sideline, you name it.
Total concentration. He doesn't care where it is.
And he's got no help from the other side tonight. Fryer's only caught 1 pass. Tatupu picks up 2. Second down.
I know Steve Grogan, the veteran that he is, would love to maintain possession, run some time off this clock, keep the football away from the Dolphins when they have that tremendous wind working with the passer. And I don't think you're going to see him put anything deep to the outside again. That ball with this wind hangs up there too long. And we saw it picked off earlier by Blackwood. And you want to keep Marino off the field, and particularly when he has a good breeze working for him.
Second down and 8 from the 48. Fake draw. Grogan steps up, fires to Fryer, makes the catch at the 30, the 20, and high steps it out of bounds. Bud Brown ran him out of bounds, and it's a first down at the 16-yard line.
Grogan staying in there. He's been hammered 2 or 3 times. He threw the interception on the bad pass, stays in there, and he takes Fryer across the middle. He gets pressure once again. Tatupu trying to get out. Here comes from the outside the blitz by Mark Brown. And just as he releases it, he gets hit. And now downfield, here comes Fryer working against Thompson. Makes it give the impression he's going upfield, breaks it across the middle, breaks away from the rookie, wide open, and turns on that great speed. But again, give that to Grogan. He hung in there until Fryer was able to break clean.
And now they go with Jones and Starring, their backup wide receivers, indicating a rushing play, and it's James taking it down to the 13-yard line. So the 2 wideouts get a breather, and now both come back into the game.
He's been around, crusty old veteran who subordinated his professional role to helping Tony Eason when, according to his head coach Ray Berry, he'd start for many or most teams around the NFL. as he did for New England for 9 years. Pressed into service because of the injury to the shoulder of Tony Eason, and he's trying to keep the New England Patriots season alive.
On 2nd and 8 from the 14-yard line. Grogan for Collins, makes the catch at the 9 and is run out of bounds right near the marker at the 7. Appears to be about a yard shy. Mark Brown will get credit for the tackle, and it stops the clock with 3:18 to go in the period. Charles is shaken up. Mike Charles, the nose tackle.
The Dolphins already hurting desperately defensively. And they're looking at the nose tackle, the big nose tackle, Mike Charles, who moved over from defensive end last year, has played a lot for an injured Bob Baumauer all this year, and they continue to look at Charles.
Charles shaken up, and he comes out, and his spot is taken by Bob Baumauer in the middle. It's 3rd down and 1 New England. Miami, despite a porous defense this year, has been very tough in these situations, as you can see. Nobody's been better in the league. The offense normally converts 2 out of 3 times, but only about half the time against Miami. 3rd down and 1 from the 7.
Could be even play action fake here.
Katupu,
yeah,
the fake, and the roll by Grogan, and Grogan is into the touchdown. And Grogan, who rushed for 12 touchdowns in 1976, a little deja vu a decade later.
Not a bad call, a good call, as a matter of fact, discussed by Grogan, I'm sure, with Ray Berry. They're in a 4-down offense down here, but they're in this close with 3rd down and 1. He had an option. His receiver wasn't open, but the man was covering the receiver in the end zone, and that gave Grogan an opportunity to carry it in. Good call. If they had not have made it, he would have thrown it away. They would have been no better off, and they would have gone on 4th down.
Franklin for what is a critical extra point. And Ramsey, the backup holder again, puts that baby down. And it goes through with 3:09 to play in the 3rd period, and we're tied again at 20-20.
Problem with that now, you have left Marino once again with that breeze, and each time he has had the wind. I don't believe they punted yet with the wind. He's been able to move the ball. Here's Grogan now. He's looking down into the end zone, gets a good block. No one coming up for the force, and he just goes into the end zone. Hurtling into the end zone unnecessarily, but he takes it in.
The only time they've had to punt going with the wind was the time that the rush was on and Roby had to eat the football.
Bill Sullivan, the owner, looking on tonight. I know he has such mixed emotions. He's selling this ball club. It's the love of his life. He would love to get to the Super Bowl once again. He got there last year, was blown away by the Chicago Bears, one of the fine people you're ever going to find in pro football. There from the beginning of the old AFL. And now he's watching Steve Grogan, the youngster he's so fond of, who has replaced Tony Eason. And Grogan has brought the Patriots back.
And Grogan's rushing touchdown is the 32nd of his career on the ground, and that's the 3rd best in the history of the franchise.
Look at that hang.
Wynn makes it come down to the 20, and it's brought back on a good run back by Craig Ellis to the 40-yard line. And they start in good position there. Hawthorne makes the tackle with exactly 3 minutes to play in the 3rd period. And again, a tie for New England is as good as a win. If they tie, they win the AFC East. Meanwhile, do you recognize that guy without his credit card?
Tampa Bay Buccaneer, perhaps.
Or his Heisman Trophy, Vinny Testaverde.
Or Raider.
University of Miami, who's on his way to the Fiesta Bowl. And Tampa Bay, if they so desire, can choose him number 1. Hampton, hit by Rembert before he ever got started. It'll be 2nd down and 11.
That's just an attention getter. And we can run the football. We might run the football. What we're going to do now is come back and throw the football. Hardy comes out. In comes Tony Nathan, a good receiver. And also Nat Moore comes in.
Collinsworth, before he was on camera, and we surprised him, you could see the true mood reflected.
Too bad he doesn't have much fun in life.
Right. 2nd and 11 from the 40. forced to scramble, drops it off, and it's caught by Hampton, and Hampton is spun down at the 39 for no gain, as it turns out. Don Blackman makes the tackle. 3rd down and 11 coming up. And on the sidelines, it appears that Mr. Mike Charles is done for the night. Left knee and foot not expected to return.
And in for Charles, a not 100% Bob Baumauer, who just came back a week ago with major problem, had a pulled groin earlier in the year, so he'll be playing less than 100%. Time running out here in the 3rd quarter for the Dolphins with the breeze behind them.
3rd and 11. They have to get to the 49 of New England, so it's closer to 12. Tony Nathan is in the game, along with James Pruitt. The extra receivers in the shotgun. Nathan stays in to block. Marino going deep. Marino's pass is too long, and there is no flag intended for Mark Duper. Real tight coverage, good coverage by Raymond Claiborne, 10th year out of Texas.
Good defensive play by New England. They had him all up there. They made Marino change the play. They made him think he was going to get that kind of coverage, and he did get single coverage because he had the 4 wide receivers in there. But Claiborne was thinking deep all the way with him, and he would have had to throw it absolutely dead solid perfect to get it in there. So the Pro Bowler Claiborne with fine coverage, and the Dolphins will have to punt.
And they punt with the wind, and now Roby will see what he can do with the strong breeze in his back. And he gets a hold of this one. And it's fielded at the 6-yard line by Irving Fryer, who's run back 3 for touchdowns in the last 2 years. And this time he is pinned at his own 12-yard line. Kendall and Brudzinski make the tackle with 1:01 to play in the 3rd period. And the game tied at 20.
And an opportunity to tell you this telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League. It's intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the expressed written consent of the National Football League is strictly prohibited. And all those things.
La-da-da-da-da.
New England has 1 minute remaining to fight this win.
They'll probably fight it on the ground from their own 12.
You better believe.
And they do, and it's James running into the wind for a gain of 3. James last year carried for 105 yards in this ballpark in the playoff victory over the Dolphins. New England last year winning 3 road games. A wild card, they went into East Rutherford, beat the Jets, and then they went out west and beat the Raiders and came down here to earn their trip to New Orleans. 2nd down, 7 from the 15, and they're going to go to the air, and Grogan throws incomplete. An out pattern intended for Stanley Morgan to make it 3rd and 7. Judson was covering on the play.
Good coverage too by Judson, helped by the fact that when you throw into that wind, that ball hangs up there no matter how much you put on it. Stops the clock. And 20 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. You don't want to turn it over down here. That's what Grogan is thinking right now. We don't want to hurt ourselves.
That's a real strange call, because if they throw a pass right now and it's incomplete, it's going to be 4th down, and there's going to be enough time on that clock to have to punt. So this is an interesting little situation here for New England. And there's a major difference tonight punting into or with the wind. So keep in mind an incompletion, and you can second guess forever that 2nd down call. And they keep it on the ground, and it's Collins, and Collins out past the 15 to the 20-yard line, and Miami takes a timeout.
You betcha.
Smart move.
And a flag is down.
And this may save New England if it's against Miami, but you can look back at that 2nd down call as very, very strange. And it's against New England. And boy, I tell you, if this one goes down to the wire, you go back to that 2nd down call. If they stay on the ground on 2nd down, it runs the quarter out, and then they go 3rd down and whatever it is, but they're with the wind. And Shula's saying we'll decline it. Let's punt the ball.
They've just compounded the air, and Shula does want them kicking against the wind. Here's the call.
Holding, 27 offense is declined. 4th down.
Very, very key situation. And so Miami, ever alert, and leave it to Shula, of course, not to let anything slip by him. Takes the timeout here, and back to receive is Ellis at his own 40-yard line.
Camarillo has been very effective. And is Miami going to get their timeout? They are going to get their timeout.
Sure. They had called it.
go.
You saw Tunney call it, and then the penalty was assessed and declined.
He tried to get out of it.
Shula just wants to make sure that clock is stopped. And it is, with 8 seconds to play in the third period.
Like a passer, there's a major psychological thing involved with a punter, with a field goal kicker, when you're kicking into this kind of a wind, and it has been a stiff one all night long.
It's interesting, too. Miami took that timeout with 12 seconds, and 4 more seconds came off the clock. Not that that's a big thing right now. All they wanted to do was stop the clock before the period was over, but 4 more seconds went by, and they had to take the timeout again.
Greg Ellis is back at about the 35-yard line, his own 35-yard line for Miami. And Camarillo, as I mentioned earlier, has hit a couple that have been fairly effective. Hit one real boomer against the wind, but it's tough to do. It's blowing right into him and very stiff.
And Camarillo is the man who did not have a kick blocked in his first 5 years in the league, and had 3 blocked this season, 2 in the game against Seattle. And Miami's ready to charge with 10 men, and they're a little over anxious. But here they come. The rush is on, but the kick is away, and it's a low kick, and Ellis has an opportunity for a good run back from his own 45 down to the 40 of New England.
Can I tell you how good that is? Great play by Ellis, the former Canadian Football League player they brought in October, just to kind of relieve the pressure that was on a fine rookie punt returner, James Pruitt. And it paid off right there for the Dolphins. He came up in a full sprint, took the ball, and got it deep into New England territory at the 40. We'll be back after this message from our local stations.
Start the fourth quarter at the Orange Bowl in Miami. Al Michaels and Frank Gifford. And again, the situation is this. If New England wins, they go to the playoffs as the AFC East champion. They lose, they're out. They go home, and Cincinnati is in. The game is tied. It is 1st and 10 as we start the fourth period at the New England 40 as Marino throws one to Davenport, and Davenport, celebrating his birthday, has a first down at the 21-yard line, stopped by Andre Tippett.
And we could see a lot more of this type of pattern as Marino now is faced with the wind as they turn into the fourth quarter. He has a powerful arm. He just is absolutely fearless when he wants to put the ball up, and he will throw into the coverage because he just totally believes in himself. But he does have a tough wind. We could see a little more of the tight end in action, a little of the circling backs out of the backfield.
Davenport, 24 today. He's the right halfback, and Hampton the left half, as Marino shoots it out to the 20-yard line and caught there by Dan Johnson. A minimal gain, about a yard, stopped by Roland James.
320 total yards, and again the turnovers. Miami with 3 in the first half, hurting themselves. Desperate game for New England. It's all over if they lose. If Miami wins it, the Jets have won the division. They'll get a week off. And Cincinnati will be off to play Kansas City.
Second down call at 8 at the 19-yard line. Marino shoots it into traffic, and it is caught by Clayton. Great coverage again, but somehow, some way, Clayton was in between and got it down for the score.
And I say he will throw into the coverage. He believes totally in himself. There are not many passers who will do this. He knew it was double coverage. He read it all the way. He had some smoke on that ball. Here is Clayton. Clayton spinning away from Ernest Gibson. He has the coverage from behind, and Fred Marion, good free safety. Marino saw it all the way, just believed in himself and drilled it in there. I'll tell you, he is a very special quarterback.
Clayton has caught 5 tonight. Strock puts it down for Reves, and it's good. And so after the curious call by New England on second down and having to cut or having to punt
Hey, y'all are in the playoffs.
against the wind. The look in Cincinnati, where the Bengals have watched Miami move out to a 7-point lead. Marino to Clayton with a touchdown.
He'll give you everything he's got every time he goes out there. It's not always pretty, but it has been so many times effective for the New England Patriots. You saw it right there. He didn't want to go out of bounds. He wanted to get some more yards out of it. And he hurled that often operated upon body right into the Dolphins.
He was known as a rushing quarterback early in his career. Talked about those 12 touchdowns on the ground in '76. He has one tonight, and he has a 3rd and 2 here. Collins, first down at the 20-yard line. So they had Morgan and Fryer wide and sent Collins right through the middle over the right side for a big first down at the 20-yard line.
What a good football game. The Patriots coming back. They lose their quarterback. They bring the old man off the bench. It has all the drama. They have to win. And Ray Berry looking on, getting a little chuckle out of something. He has his own, doesn't have a different drummer. He has an entirely different band that he walks around with.
You can force a smile at this point. You are marching to a different drummer. 1st and 10 at the 20. 9:15 to play. Grogan for Morgan. Flag down, and Morgan, no, he wasn't in, but there's a marker down.
That's going to be close. Morgan gave it an out and go. Got tied up with Judson. Morgan broke it to the outside, and Grogan gave it the pump fake, and then Morgan turned it up, and it's going to work against Judson. He was playing me out when Morgan broke it up. Here it is. This might even be after the fact. I think the foul occurred. The foul occurred earlier.
Illegal contact. Number 49, defense, 5 yards, first down.
The contact happened when Morgan broke it to the outside, and Grogan gave it the pump fake. And when Morgan turned it upfield, there was the contact. And let's take a look again. The flag has come in. The contact was made earlier.
And that is not subject to review, just to refresh you. That is not subject to review. A judgment call on pass interference by the replay officials.
Pass is incomplete. It's first down.
So first down at the 15-yard line. Berry looking at the chart, but again, it's Grogan calling his own plays.
That's Grogan's chart.
Yeah, right. Fryer splits right.
It'd be tough to change it down here.
Collins stopped after a gain of 2. Glenn Blackwood wrestled him down. Another tough thing here for New England is they're going into the closed end of the Orange Bowl, where it does get about twice as noisy as the open end.
Very difficult to change things down here. Grogan has been around for a long time. He'll probably even go on quick counts down here, as he knows he's not going to have much of an opportunity to change it. Now, when they come out of the huddle, the decibel count will start rising dramatically.
Greg Hawthorne on a wing.
There's the quick count.
2nd and 8, and the pass is caught in the end zone for a touchdown by Collins.
Grogan again under pressure.
Tony Collins, who did not start tonight. They went with Tutupu in the backfield to provide more blocking for James. But again, it's back to the air for New England. The air is what's gotten them this far, and it's a pass again to Collins, who had 70 catches coming into the game.
There's the pressure, off balance. He gets it there. Offerdahl tries to get there, but Brown tries to get there. But Grogan, under pressure once again, hangs it up, and Collins, who is having a big second half, gets it in for the touchdown.
Franklin to try to tie the game at 27. Perfect.
What drama.
8:20 remaining in the fourth. 27-27. What a way for things to wrap up at the Orange Bowl.
My amigo Juan just came out from Mexico, so I'm introducing him to my American friend Larry and our favorite beer, Miller Lite.
Por favor. Juan, mi Miller Lite de gusto porque it tastes muy bueno.
Larry.
Ladies, mimosa calorías and no gusto filiopo. El comprende? No, not really.
For mucho great taste, there's only one light beer, Miller Lite.
Does your friend speak any English?
You're in my heart, you're in my soul. You be my breath, should I grow. You are my love.
Mercury for 1987. Shaped to hold the road and to capture your heart.
You're in my heart, you're in my soul. You be my breath.
Mercury, the shape you want to be in.
At 55 miles an hour, do you know how long it takes the average car to stop? This long. Provided it's in shape and has good brakes. Bendix makes very, very good brakes. Which is why they're not cheap. But then, neither is life.
Game tied at 27, fourth quarter. Again, if you tuned in late, the significance of this game, Miami's victory would send Cincinnati to the playoffs, would give the Jets next weekend off. A victory by New England sends Cincinnati home, puts the Jets in the wild card round, and gives New England a weekend off. Bengals watching, looking on from Cincinnati, and the Jets with more than a passing interest in this one.
Kansas City and Cleveland and everyone involved.
At the 2, it's Craig Ellis. And he brings it back out to the 24-yard line. Let's check in with 8:10 to play in the fourth. What do you think, Boomer?
Unbelievable. I'll tell you, just like our season, up and down, up and down, up and down. Just, I'm praying that Dan can do it.
Tough wind he's throwing into, Boomer, but he's been able to do it.
Well, if there's anybody that can do it, it's going to be Dan Marino.
Did you like that?
One of the strongest arms in the NFL.
Did you like that shot to Clayton for the touchdown?
Unbelievable. Just keep doing it all night long. That's all I want to see.
All right, we'll check back with you later. Faces are a little more tense in Cincinnati right now. At the 24-yard line, Woody Bennett is in the game. He and Hampton are the running backs. Fake to Bennett. And on a sweep, it's Hampton. 30, 40, and run out of bounds at the 47-yard line. And Ronnie Lee threw the block that sprung him that time.
The 2 guards out in front. Roy Foster with an unbelievable block also. Cleared it. Hampton broke through it. And Hampton is having a big night. Watch 61. That's Foster. 72 is Lee. Foster just taking his man totally out of the play. Marion had tried to come up with a force. And the Dolphins move it on the ground.
110 yards for Hampton. On 1st and 10 from the 47-yard line, it's caught by Davenport for a gain of 7 as he takes it to the New England 46. We saw Hampton gain 100 yards for the first time in his career against the Jets when he picked up 148 that night. 2 touchdowns were scored, and that seemed to rejuvenate the Dolphin ground game.
What an emotional yo-yo it's been for the Jets looking on, the Cincinnati Bengals looking on, Cleveland, Kansas City. So many lives will be affected by the outcome of this game tonight.
2nd down and 4 at the 46. Marino going deep and too deep. And it's Clayton, and there's no flag, and Clayton gave it a pretty good acting job, and the crowd boos, but the coverage was there. And Marino
took a shot. But did you see him release that ball? That was 50 yards in the air, maybe more, 53 yards in the air. And the thing about his 2 marks, Clayton and Duper, they don't give up on him. Good move to the outside, and he knows that Marino has the arm to get it there. Just a little bit beyond his reach. No flag, of course. No way he could have handled that ball. And here's Grogan, meanwhile, collecting his thoughts over the sidelines, because I'm quite sure that he is quite sure he's going to have to come back out and get some more points.
3rd and 4, and that's Tony Eason in the blue jacket. Gone for the night, made a tackle, and that cost New England his services. 3rd and 4.
New England showing the blitz, but they've been doing this and jumping out of it.
And 4 wide receivers. Patriots stunting, send 4, dumped over the middle, incomplete, intended for Nathan. And he was covered on the play, blanketed on the play by the linebacker Don Blackman. 4th down.
But they only sent 4. Marino was reading a different blitz, tried to throw it underneath to get it to Nathan. And it was a wasted play with Nathan covered.
Roby now kicking into the wind, and Irving Fryer sets up at his own 10-yard line. Tempestuous year for Fryer, as was last year. Wobbly, angled kick. And it's down at the 14-yard line with 6:55, a 32-yard punt by Reggie Roby, and in Miami we're tied at 27-27. Truncated night ended that way, 6 of 9 for 59 yards, and then an injured shoulder. So it's been Grogan all the way, with the game now tied at 27. By the way, if you think you're watching a videotape, remember back December 16th, 85, Monday Night Football last year, same 2 teams right here. You know what the score was at this point in the game? 27-27. And it was won by Reve's field goal with 4 minutes and 27 seconds to play. Miami won the game by 3.
We were sweating out the overtime, trying to get home for Christmas.
1st and 10, New England from the 14-yard line. Tutupu out to the 21 for a gain of 7. It'll be 2nd and 3. Mosi Tutupu. He, and again, the New England running game so futile this year, but Tutupu, the short yardage specialist, the starter tonight, and he's got a long string going, 137 straight games for Mosi.
On the way to the Pro Bowl as a special teams representative from the AFC. Well deserved to it, has been for over the years.
2nd and 3 at the 21. James, and he's been silent for about a quarter and a half right now, and he takes it out to the 29-yard line for a 1st down. Raymond Berry. Quiet.
Well, he would love to see the Patriots move down the field. Keep in mind, they have a very hot field goal kicker, Tony Franklin. Before the game, we watched him kick 2 consecutive field goals of 61 yards with the wind that is blowing here tonight. They'd like to run a lot of time off that clock and be in position to win it with a field goal, I'm quite sure.
1st and 10 at the 29-yard line. James. This is an auspicious beginning to this drive because they're picking up yardage on the ground. And again, with Charles not in there, Miami's a little softer, and they're soft to begin with against anybody's ground game. And they're taking some time off the clock. And you're right, if they can get Franklin to boot one through in the final minute, that would be ecstasy for New England, because it would not only mean the lead, but it would leave Miami with very little or no time.
You get the feeling that Franklin feels it's going to come down to Franklin or Revez.
2nd down and 5 at the 34-yard line. James again, and he's out close to a 1st down. George Little in on the tackle. And if he doesn't have the 1st down, this is going to set up a very big play on 3rd and inches. And the Pats think they are about that short.
Meanwhile, the tension continues to build. short yardage defense coming in for the Dolphins. They're thinking run. Now, are you in a two-play offense at this point, 4:40 remaining? Could you go with the play fake, or play action rather, and come with the pass? And then always knowing you can come back and gamble everything on the 4th down.
Boy, I wouldn't do it. Over Easton's shoulder, 3rd down in inches, and they line up very tight. Wing back is Hawthorne, 3rd and inches. Movement to Tupu. No flag. Tupu buried by that pile, and we'll see when they unscramble.
It looked like he did find the gap, however. Linesman looks as though he's marking it for the 1st down, and he does. Tupu took it to the outside a little bit, found a little gap to the inside, and gets the 1st down, keeps it alive, and the clock continues to move. Let's look again. A surge by the Dolphins that did not bring a flag. Tupu looked to the outside just for a moment, and then the extra effort. And that's what kind of football player he is, an extra effort player, gets the 1st down.
Under 4 minutes to play. 3:53, 3:52, and counting down. 1st and 10, New England at the 40. Game tied at 27. James for a hard 3. 2nd and 7. And in Cincinnati, it is crunch time.
Stop, slap. Make too much noise.
As the Bengals look on, and the Jets, no doubt, in New York look on, and everybody in New England looks on with a pretty good deal of interest as well.
Even Denver, Cleveland, lying in the weeds, one of the real tough representatives in the playoffs.
2nd and 7 at the 43. Toss, James slips down, still turns it into a small gain. It'll be 3rd and 4. Offerdahl gets credit for the tackle. 3rd and 4 at the 46. Franklin getting ready, and the clock down to 2:47, 2:46, 2:45.
He is not a gifted one, but there is no question he can reach it. We watched him as he warmed up 2 consecutive times. He banged it in with a lot of yards to spare from 61 yards. Big play coming up now. Got to put it in the air. You got to give yourself something that is relatively conservative. And you're in a 4-down situation. You're going to go on 4th down, too.
There's Franklin on 3rd and 4. Morgan to the left and Fryer to the right. And he's going to Morgan. The money man makes the catch at the 41-yard line. Tackled by Judson. When in doubt, there's always Stanley. He is terrific.
What a great year he's having. He's had a lot of great years, but came into tonight with 76. He now has 82 receptions on the night. They try to play him straight away with Judson. He made it look strong to the inside. Judson fought him through the 5 yards in which he's allowed to make that contact. Grogan had the protection, had the time, and he was ever so tender with it. Took a little bit off once he saw that Morgan had his man beat.
That's the first pass on this drive. That's the 9th catch by Morgan. The clock is stopped at 2:09, so this should take us down to the 2-minute warning if they stay on the ground. And they do, and it's James, and James gets about 6 to the 35. And so when we come back following the 2-minute warning, it'll be 2nd down and 4 for New England at the 35-yard line.
And they are well within Tony Franklin's range already. They'll continue to move it. They will continue to work on the clock, I think, in terms of getting the time off. They don't want Marino back out on that field. The drama builds, everything on the line for New England.
What a way for this season to end, as the regular season goes right down to the very end. And there were so many possibilities a couple of weeks ago of this game meaning nothing. And now it means so much, and now we have 2 minutes to go, tied at 27.
And one can't say enough for Steve Grogan, no matter the outcome. He came off the bench, hadn't played in 8 weeks. Little rusty to begin with, made the mistake trying to squeeze one into fire, got picked off, but he has directed this drive absolutely brilliantly.
2nd down and 4, and Tupu picks up 1. 3rd down and 3. Mark Brown made the tackle. New England, of course, wants to take as much time off the clock as they possibly can, so they don't take a timeout. They have all 3 remaining. There's Franklin again. The Dolphins, if they get the ball back, will have 2 timeouts. Remember, they used 1 to force the punt into the wind at the end of the 3rd period. Huge play here, 3rd and 3.
Could be some kind of a rollout for Grogan to give himself an option, either to throw the pass for the incompletion or to run the ball for the first down himself.
On the ground, James has, I believe, the first down. He thrust forward to the 30.5. They had to get to the 31, and it should be a New England first down. There's Grogan eyeing the sticks.
That play right there illustrates the faith they have in Tony Franklin. They weren't desperate for that first down.
I think he has it, I think. Close, real close.
It is going to be close. They'll bring it out. But there are some fluttering little heartbeats inside Tony Franklin at the moment. That much is indicated.
Yeah.
By which way, though?
And it is a first down. A first down at the 30-yard line. And the clock is down to 1:10, and the clock will be restarted now when the ball is signaled ready for play by Tunney.
And we go back to what Ray said earlier about Tony Franklin. If he were a football player, a different player, not a kicker, he would be a linebacker. He's that tough mentally. Said one of the toughest young people he's ever been around. Doesn't get fazed by anything.
1st and 10 at the 30-yard line. And Grogan to throw it. And to throw it deep. And it is caught for a touchdown by Morgan over Thompson.
Great call. Beautiful pass. And fitting and proper that it is Morgan. He's been responsible for so many of the Pats wins this season. And what a job Grogan has done.
What a call on 1st and 10. They were chewing up the clock, yardage on the ground, and they go over the rookie Thompson. And again, it's Thompson taking the spot in the secondary in a porous Miami secondary. And the longtime veteran makes his 10th catch of the game. And he's picked up 148 yards tonight through the air. And it's real quiet in Covington, Kentucky.
As Miami has 44 seconds, they can move the ball very quickly with Marino. 2 timeouts remaining. Let's look again. Morgan working against Thompson, who has started 4 times for an injured Paul Langford. Thompson was beat at the line of scrimmage as the veteran just blew by him, and that ball was thrown absolutely dead solid perfect.
Franklin to try to make it a 7-point lead with 44 seconds. So Miami has that much time into the wind, and they'll have 2 timeouts remaining. Stanley, you are marvelous.
For you, Mom!
For Mom and millions of other people who have been admiring Stanley Morgan for a lot of years, at his finest tonight on a first down call called by quarterback Steve Grogan, sprinting by Thompson, and a perfectly thrown ball.
Stanley Morgan, there aren't many guys in what they call the 2,200 club. That is catching 200 passes or more in a career and average 20 yards per catch. Oddly enough, tonight, his average is a little lower than it normally is, so he has dropped under the 20 figure for his career in what may be the greatest game of his career.
Thompson perhaps made the rookie mistake not setting up in front of him. If you're going to play him that tight, you better bump him inside that 5 yards where it's allowed. He didn't touch him. Morgan, who has blown by the best of them in his career, just blew by Thompson unimpeded. No way Thompson could sprint with him, and what a night for Grogan as he talks to the injured Tony Eason. And it would appear that the injury to Eason, it is his right shoulder. No matter what it would be, it would appear that it's going to be Grogan through the playoffs. Nothing new. He carried him through midseason last year, and Ray Berry has tremendous faith in him.
Franklin now kicking off. 44 seconds. Clock starts when the ball is touched. and it will be a touchback. So they'll have to go 80 yards in 44 seconds with 2 timeouts. Into the breeze.
If there's one person you want doing it or trying it, it's Marino with his 2 marks on either side. Tough thing to ask.
Right here, put his in the crowd. Right here, put him in.
One happy veteran quarterback. What a job he's performed tonight.
From the shotgun. 4 wide receivers. Low snap. For Duper, intercepted at the 33 by Rod McSwain. And Rod McSwain has, in all probability, just clinched the AFC East Championship for the New England Patriots.
Another Patriot playing hurt tonight. They didn't know whether he could go or not. He's been out with a pulled groin muscle. Marino going to his ace is Duper. A little late getting there. McSwain goes up, takes it away from Duper. And the Dolphins will be able to stop it a couple of times. But their season is history. And what a great comeback under all sorts of adversity on the part of the New England Patriots. Tony Eason out, Grogan coming on, hadn't played in 2 months. Perhaps the only man walking the sidelines tonight who knew they could do it at this man, that whimsical smile that we have seen so much of over the years.
Grogan goes down to 1 knee, and for Boomer Esiason and the Cincinnati Bengals, the season appears to be over.
Our thanks to Boomer and, of course, Chris and a lot of the other Bengals for letting us share an evening with them. A tough evening, a great year for Chris. 3 touchdowns yesterday, 5 thrown by Esiason. It's a young team coming on, Chris. Sorry about that.
The Patriots, a very resourceful team. This year started on such a low note. New England gets to the Super Bowl, and then the drug story explodes, and they begin the year under a cloud. And Berry saying throughout the offseason, we're not going to discuss this situation. We're going to handle it in our own way. And all of the other adversity has been overcome. Meanwhile, here's the way it looks. 12:30 Sunday, Kansas City will be at East Rutherford to face the Jets. Rams in the late game at Washington. And then that's the way it will look on January 3rd and 4th. We know where the games are, and we know that New England will be at Denver to open their portion of the playoffs. Meanwhile, Miami has just taken its last time out, and for Ray Berry, among other things, as he and Stanley Morgan share this moment, he said there was a quarterback controversy that perhaps could have developed. He said early this season, he said in the offseason, Eason's my man. He's my guy. Grogan's going to call the plays. And tonight, it's Grogan who comes on for the injured Eason and leads him into the playoffs.
But again, he would never hesitate to put him out there. So much faith he has. And as we wind it down, Al, I'll tell you how much I've enjoyed this season working with you. Different role as we look at Bill Sullivan, who I spoke of a moment ago, gave an very impassioned speech to the entire ball club yesterday, talking about the sale of the ball club. And I'm sure no one could be more delighted with what has transpired here tonight. This is a very courageous group of New England Patriots. This maybe reflects on what Ray Berry's told us at the Hall of Fame game, Al, when he said, this is the finest group of young people I have ever been associated with. Then he said, we won't talk about what happened last year. We'll let our play just stand for itself.
So it's on to the playoffs for the Patriots and on to the offseason for the Cincinnati Bengals. Steve Grogan, Stanley Morgan, Ray Berry, and the New England Patriots. Next stop, Denver. Divisional playoffs. So again, the final score, 34-27. The Patriots win the East. And this ABC Sports exclusive has been brought to you by Miller Lite. For great taste, there's only one light beer. By the U.S. Armed Forces, it's a great place to start. By Braun Electric Shavers. Braun, designed to perform better. And by GM AC, the financial services people from General Motors. Al Michaels and Frank Gifford at the Orange Bowl in Miami. Travel arrangements made through. Promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. Nobody knows Hawaii like United. And this has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television. A great year. I've enjoyed it, Frank, and it's been great working with, no question, the best crew in all of sports television. The folks at ABC, concluding year number 17 of Monday Night Football. We thank you, ladies and gentlemen.